So whosoever he used to write, normally people out so much respect he enjoyed. But this leadership summit brought a lot of leaders from all walks of life on one platform. So this that is how the agriculture today journey, and many states we used to bring special issues, thematic areas, horticulture, food processing, farm mechanization, seeds, soils, you name an area that we used to bring irrigation and animal husbandry and dairy, poultry and fisheries and all these areas. So this journey, and then special issue on states. In the very first year, second year of the launch, we brought out on the Andhra Pradesh. Yesterday I again mentioned that with Chief Minister Chandrababu Naidu, I had the meeting to interview him, and then that over the years we became so close that one political decision that he consulted me on that, and that had a lot of significant impact on the discourse of the national politics that followed subsequently. So many this thing, then countries also. Chile I was discussing about that. We went, actually embassy only sent us to bring out a special sensitization has happened worldwide now about the challenge that we face, and this climate change is not something textbook story or a hoax which US President Trump used to say this is a global hoax. It's not so, because the signs are very clear now. We can see Saudi Arabia has been receiving the snowfall for last about 5-6 years, every year, unimaginable thing. 3 years back I was, 4 years back I was in Europe for about 15 days in 9 or 10 countries. The temperature in Netherlands rose from 36 to 41 in one single day. And you imagine the situation, 41 degree in Europe, unbelievable. So these kind of now signs are very clear. Either we prepare with climate resilient agriculture or what I often say climate adjusted agriculture system, because we cannot face it, so we have to adjust with it. So how we adjust, those adjustment strategies, but there is a need for greater global cooperation, greater global investment, but much greater requirement of making aware the practitioners of agriculture, who are the farmers, that what these implications, how they need to be prepared on that. A lot of discussion yesterday happened in quite a few sessions. I'm sure that today also. This is a platform which is a composite platform where stakeholders from industry, academic system, research system, institutions and so on, and therefore same goes with the awards that will follow at 4 p.m. Yesterday the minister could not come. Twice we spoke. Once he himself called up in the morning saying it's difficult, Minister Rupala ji. Then in the daytime we somehow could again connect. He said if Prime Minister is sitting or if there is a voting, I will not be able to come out, otherwise I will somehow escape. So today also I am only hoping that actually unfortunately there is no opposition to disrupt the parliament. Otherwise we had greater chance of having the minister here. So I am only hoping that some wrong must happen in house so that we get the minister here. Otherwise, let's see. So 4 to 5 p.m. is the what? Again, very important institutions, very important individuals, very important corporates, and 4 states are being recognized. So I hope as the day passes, we should have the hall overflowing with the delegates here, and award function particularly people are very keen, and we also look forward to. Thank you very much. Thank you, Sapna.
Thank you very much indeed, Dr. Khan, for those warm words of welcome, setting the context and taking us through the 25 years of Agriculture Today group. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I have the proud privilege in inviting our guest of honor, Dr. J.K. Jainaji. He is the Deputy Director General, Indian Council of Agriculture Research. Let's put our hands together to welcome Sir for his kind address.
Good morning, one and all. Most respected dignitaries present in the dais, Chairman of this today morning, Chief Guest, Dr. Vijay Pal Sharma ji. We have dignitaries present on the dais, Mr. Baldev Prakash, Madam Her Excellency Ronaldo Haratio, Dr. Maharaj, Dr. M.J. Khan ji, Madam Binta Singh, esteemed dignitaries, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed a great pleasure and opportunity for me to be here this morning. First of all, a sincere greetings to each one of you. It is a rare opportunity for all of us to have a platform, to get a platform where stakeholders from different areas assemble. So congratulations, Dr. Khan Saab. You have taken this magazine to a newer height. 25 years is a big period for everyone. Hearty congratulations. You have taken the magazine to a level. Expectations of people have gone up. When a child is born, everybody looks at him or her, how he or she crawls or stand, walk. Then he or she child goes to school. Everybody starts appreciating. When he or she performs well, everybody looks at it and appreciate. But when somebody reaches 25 years of age, youth age, that time more of expectations. When you perform, you do well in schools, colleges and all. Everybody's expectations remains very high. So I am sure with the leadership of Dr. Khan Saab, this magazine will take everyone along. This magazine has proved how a news can help to transform the life of people. Yesterday we saw the film. Yesterday evening the film was shown. History, how this agriculture today has moved in last 25 years. Yes, expectations today are too large, we do understand. When you talk of you are dealing with a sector, a vibrant sector, definitely all of us who are involved in this sector, we like to cherish with the development growth which is happening. It is not necessary to say where we were, maybe 75 years back, where we are today, but where we want to go, that is more important. Country is trying to have vision document for 2047. All of us want to contribute. We know the challenges. All of us have been speaking on the challenges. One side we are celebrating, yes. Other side we are trying to analyze the issues and challenges. All of us today today also we have some session on climate change. Whether we like or not, climate change will be there, is there. Even today, some people say, why you talk of climate change of tomorrow? Why don't you talk what climate change has impacted even today's life? So in that case, every one of us talk of climate change. We have been talking of the third generation problem when we are talking of the food system or the human life at large. We have been talking of the third generation issues like AMR, antimicrobial resistance. But when you talk of again agriculture, we know the major issues which will like to remain in coming years, and all of us stakeholders, it is not only the academicians and researchers, all of you who have been working in the industry, market sector and all of you know very well. Each one of us know the challenges, each one of us know the problem, and where to reach, all of us know. How to go, that also roadmap we have made. But who will be the stakeholders, who will be involved, that is what is more important at this point of time. Now we know when a road is constructed, when a four-lane road is constructed, everybody starts appreciating. Then once or twice when people go in a speedy truck, there will be accident. Then people start making bumps everywhere, here and there bumps. Then more rainfall, then there will be road will be damaged, will be there. Then that takes time. So even the situation like Corona phase, 2 years of breakdown of everything, bumpy roads. So even if we have a roadmap made, still we do not know what situation will come. How do you tackle those are so important. The issues which agriculture today has been highlighting all the years are so pertinent, so important today. For example, we have been talking of water issues. That will be major. How do we increase our water productivity, water use efficiency and all. It is something we need to be discussing more often than other things which are more important. When you are looking at agriculture tomorrow, it is not 2047. If life has to remain for other million of years, whether food will remain relevant all the time. Whether and water is so important, all of us know. We do talk of so much of water available in the sea. All those things we tell all the time. We can do all sort of desalination, everything we do talk of. But how it is relevant, we need to be discussing. The small issues, for example, the surplus management. It is not the country-wide surplus management. It is where I work in the fisheries sector, for example. All the time we keep our target, maybe doubling, tripling, and all big targets we set. Similarly, all the subsectors, whether it is poultry, dairy, all the subsectors have a roadmap made for increasing the production, productivity, and so on and so forth. The major issue I foresee in coming days is the intersectoral competition for the resources. For example, fisheries, we need to increase our aquaculture production. For that, you need feed. What are the major ingredient source? Maize, soybean, or even the rice bran, oil cake, etc., etc. Whereas the poultry sector also depend on that. And no case we will be able to increase our area of farming, 140 million hectare or so. Rather it will reduce. So the pressure on the ingredients for all the sector will increase gradually. For the feed, which was costing 20 rupees or 30 rupees 20 years back, now it has gone to 100 rupees plus. Even the wastes. Waste means what I say is what we use is rice bran or rice husk or wheat bran, oil cake. The primary is something else. Even the waste resources has gone so much. Nothing is waste today. Everything is resource. So what is that alternative resources we have been, we know that we need to be talking. So the magazine like Agriculture Today has a great role to play, taking this knowledge of everything, the issues and strategies to every stakeholders are so important. When we were students entering to the college, we used to purchase magazine. All of us must have experienced wherever you had interest. I used to at least purchase every month religiously, going and purchasing Sports Star or film magazine, 2-3 film magazine. Most of the students, they used to purchase film magazine or sports magazine. Very few may be politics interested, those who are maybe, they may be purchasing those. And why we are studying this? We never wanted to become film star or sportsman, but we used to purchase to read, maybe know more about those, just to gossip. And most of us, even today, we read so many things just which will help to gossip, which will help to criticize, which will help to give advice. Most of us, most of us read daily morning, maybe newspaper, or all those magazines, just to either criticize or advise or gossip, which will help. But magazine like this is going to only help us for the livelihood, for our business. So this is something which is so much of necessary for everyone. So how do we make this available to everyone? That is important. It is not that everybody will be having access to purchase. Probably, I do not know the strategy, Khansa. Probably you need to catch hold of maybe chief guest here sitting, maybe some government funding. Can we take it to every college, schools of the country? Then if even 0.1% teachers read or 1% teachers read, they will be able to take this knowledge to at least students. Leave about students. If some students read, that will be fine. But at least teacher reads, even one line they read, they will try to speak in the class. So probably, how do you take this magazine to everyone? That is so important probably. I don't want to give advice or speak much, but I wish all the best, Kansab, and your total group of agriculture today with editor, Madam Anjana Nair and Madam Vinita Singh and all of you. I am sure and confident, not sure, I am so confident that you will be able to take this magazine to every stakeholders of the country. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much indeed, sir. And ladies and gentlemen, I would now like to request Dr. Maharaj Muthu, Chairman, Roman Forum, Roman former Chairman, Board of Trustees, in Bar, to kindly address the August House. Over to you, sir.
National issues of agriculture with specific reference to our country, especially if you may recall that at the last international conference COP28 in Dubai, food systems and agriculture agenda have been a priority as never before at such conferences. And I was lucky to be there for just one day or two, and for the first time, heads of state and government attended COP28. Over 130 countries signed the declaration covering over 5.7 billion people with nearly 500 million farmers and 76% of total emissions from the global food system. And I suppose you are aware that 2.5 billion US dollars have been mobilized to support the food climate agenda. And there were friends of our agro world and ICRAF, like Bill and Melinda Gates, and we had a good talk. I was grateful that our Honorable Prime Minister, Pradhan Mantri, was there, and he met also with a place where I'm based, Prime Minister from Rome, Italy, and they discussed some matters about which the Prime Minister of Italy has last week, you may have come to know, taken decision against a certain China road and belt project, has withdrawn Italy from that. So now that's all abroad. Most important present there was the Rome-based Food and Agriculture Organization leader, a Chinese man, a brilliant young who used to be Deputy Minister of Agriculture of People's Republic of China. Pity that India is largest member with hunger and poverty compared with that. If at all anybody wants to know about China, I know its story from its initial stage. For whatever reason, I was committed to travel there by the UN Secretary General all of a sudden. A little boy I was that time. Anyway, India continues to be poor, and while at China that time when I visited, nobody spoke English. There were no cars at Peking. Beijing is now, and there is everything now, and agriculture is being exported, products, processed, and there are more Chinese in worldwide, in Europe, in even America, restaurants, China food, China rice, and all imported almost every week from China. And India, I'm afraid, very, very little. Even in London, there are places with more Chinese restaurants than India, even though India was part of UK long, long ago. Anyway, I can tell you the entire story, anybody who has time to sit with me. What I'm saying is that India continues to be largest member now of population-wise, and to improve the overreaching framework food systems governance is needed. This starts with the ministries and agencies in charge of food systems and include other stakeholders, emphasizing the need to include and empower smallholder farmers. That's the other thing. Smallholder farmers are critical. I know from my childhood in Jammu and Kashmir, it's known as a territory now, and smallholder farmers, and when you got annoyed hearing me about women, I used to get good food walking on the streets as a little baby boy from women who were cultivating rice there. The women were working all the summer. Only cultivation, when it reached final, men would appear farmers. So that is my expertise on the ground, because a lot of people talk theory. Anyway, I'm sure most of you have been working in the farmer area. And these should include other stakeholders also, our governments and etc., emphasizing the need to include and empower smallholder farmers and other workers, ladies and gentlemen, and enterprises in the food supply chain. The future must be built on bottom-up systems thinking approaches. Political will for transformation is needed. Policies, programs, and investment that embrace complexity and system challenge, promoting policy coherence and policies that drive real change. I'm submitting this for consideration. We should not stay too much downstairs. We must also go down to up. Short-term responses must build up to long-term structural transformation at the national and subnational level, because our country is so wide. Strategically designing short-term actions that not only address immediate crisis but also contribute to reshaping fundamental aspects of the food systems, because they had, and we've been talking, anyway, I'll take this afternoon. We must strengthen social protection institutions and mechanisms and implement inclusive growth programs that prioritize the most vulnerable to food insecurity. As India has the largest number of vulnerable people, I'm afraid, I'm sad, and I continue to be Indian citizen from childhood. Its situation has become even worse. This includes supporting small-scale food producers with systematic policies that link food assistance initiative to sustainable local food production, improving access to healthy and diverse diets through key channels like school meals and programs. Even school meals and programs. Today, a lot of children don't go to school because they don't have food. We must make healthy and safe diets accessible and affordable to all, supporting to enhance access to affordably healthy, local and safe diets while promoting sustainable food production, including our traditional food system, that is, for example, millets. Only this year there has been millets, and frankly, it was through the Chinese Director General of FAO who recognized it, because India is the biggest, and they took, anybody can ask me questions. But what I'm saying is that we have traditional crops, traditional largest, and it's not being given due attention. Now my request is, I'll not talk too much. I would like to need later on questions which I can answer. We must work to strengthen supply chain by supporting the capacity of food markets also, periodic rural markets and street vendors to facilitate access to affordable, diverse and healthy diets. We also need to boost access to finance. Without finance, we cannot do anything, and especially nationally and locally. That's why I am very fond of my organizers of this meeting to have Jammu and Kashmir Bank here. Frankly, from childhood, I have seen how much they have converted. Of course, Madam Goyana, don't get jealous. I have lived there, worked there, and one of my class fellows was a minister there. Unfortunately, don't tell me why, he passed away, PhD from Oxford University. He was Minister for Agriculture. You know the guy. He worked in Africa, also Kenya. Helped, you know the man. So Guyana is also, I'm happy that he is here. She finds time to come. But there are other, Suriname, Brazil, South Africa. I have been there most of the time, no less than 10, 15 years. But yet, it's not needed that we should have a lot of land like China has and India fairly so. A tiny country land-wise known as Netherlands is the biggest exporter and income generator of agriculture products. Does anybody know? Number one is USA, and number two is Netherlands. And please, or Denmark, somebody called Netherlands, please see, of course, a lot of people, the Guyana trend will find out, especially in Suriname and nearby countries, there were Netherlands had organized those things, the farmers from Indonesia, farmers from India, and farmers from South Africa, because Netherlands was owner of those countries. And Netherlands, so now that's not important. What I'm saying, agriculture, the largest support. I don't want to say anything more. If you ask me about Netherlands, I love it, because there you get high quality food. The flowers that you are distributing here, higher quality than this, are being exported from Netherlands all over the world. And we should do all those things, exporting. We will never achieve the goals of the sustainable development and without agriculture and food systems. And considering bold proposals and strong political will to confront long-standing obstacles and power asymmetries in my country. Getting agriculture and food system as one of the top priorities. We need agenda in significant moment. At the moment we are staying limited, and we should make it holistic approach. Holistic is a word, ladies and gentlemen, just to inform word, in English dictionary, some of you may know it, some of you may not. Holistic, it's being cited by all leaders for the last 10, 15 years. It has been invented by me. And the Oxford English Dictionary got the word holistic, paid me 80 pounds. 80 pounds when I invited the word. They said, can we print it, add to the dictionary and describe what holistic means? And when I said yes, before, they said, we'll come to meet where you are, and they sent me 80 pounds. And beautiful. And now it means, anyway, you know. So we need a holistic approach to agriculture, production, consumption, trade, transport, and its impact on climate, vice versa. And between you and me, anybody can quote me, and if I get murdered by anybody, God is this takes a decision. I am not worried about climate change. But let's earn money, because some people are dying for climate. Human beings can make no stoppage or enhancement of climate. What is tiny species, just Homo sapiens? India, but we should earn money. India should earn, green guys. But between you and me, I don't want to talk much more theory, but I wanted to give a global perspective that India should, our core mandate should be nutrition security and catalyzing agricultural productivity. To increasingly complex ones, such as fostering environmental sustainability within environmental, not climate change. We can mitigate it. Climate change is a mad challenge. Ladies and gentlemen, if you get annoyed, I'll stop in a minute. You know, mad challenge? Mitigation, adaptation, and development, MAD. And that's how people have heard for me latest, mad challenge. And in China, I'm being cited and quoted in their journals now and then. Mad, because whether the president's sister, who was my colleague, she's there, she has quoted that. But we should focus on productivity, increasing complex ones such as fostering environmental sustainability and building resilience among vulnerable people rocked by conflicts. Conflicts are problem, rich and poor, north and west, Brahmins versus lower level people. So we should stop all that, and we have to produce more with less. But to achieve this, we need enabling policies, and there are not enabling policies. I'm attacking you. We are not enabling policies to close the investment gap, to ensure that finances increase and reaches those who need it most, especially smallholder farmers. They need more advice and to effectively contribute to ensuring food availability, food accessibility, and food affordability to be able to. I was pleased that the first day of COP28, when I was there, was marked by an historic agreement on the operationalization of the loss and damage fund to help vulnerable countries. And we should depend vulnerable farmers We need in the world an innovative plan and concrete package of solutions to transfer our agri-food system to achieve zero hunger. I have written a lot of it, but for meeting, but doesn't matter. We must adopt aims to boost agricultural productivity and nutrition by developing diverse climate-resilient crops, not climate mitigation, resilient, adaptation, climate-resilient crops varieties by building healthy soils, support of agri-food system transformation, access environment and climate finance through the Global Environmental Facility. And that's what, I don't know how much money the Agro World or others are taking from Global GEF, which is based in, you know where it is, it's in USA, and the Green Climate Fund, which is based in Southern Korea. I'm very sorry if Indians here get annoyed by me saying, I have lost while I was a United Nations system Deputy Director General or whatever in various countries and at Rome, headquarters of Food and Agriculture Organization for 15 years. I will tell you, we have lost opportunities which other countries have taken. Japan, China, two organizations, two plants I had offered India. And our ministers, brilliant ministers, but they offered, one told me that we will give them to be in Madhya Pradesh. I said, why not in Delhi? No, Madhya Pradesh is my, so don't ask me which minister I'm talking about, of Indian government. Then I asked another one, can we have it in Delhi? Oh, I don't care about this. So when the minister of Canada, who was offering to create that organization, and government of Canada, they came, I was having with her, with this minister, I was having lunch, going to see, has invited me, I had passed through, and so she or he told the staff, no madam, there's a minister, others waiting for you. I have to have lunch with my elder brother. Anyway, she heard them and told them, I will discuss, but her PA said, Madam, you have studied. No, ab inke samne mat bolo. Inko jaane do dafa main khana khate. So that is, no, I just want to say, we at the ministerial level do not take decisions in support of our national need. India is one of the few countries in the world which has no international organization headquarters. Thank you very much. I would like you to decide and to protect. So because I am being ordered to get off. Okay. Order no.
I'm really sorry, sir, if you felt that way, but we have a time constraint and we have many more eminent dignitaries who would like to address in this session. And I would now like to invite Her Excellency Ms. Ronelda Horatio Edward, Honorable High Commissioner of Guyana, to kindly address the August House present here. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Her Excellency with a warm round of applause.
Thank you very much. Mr. V.J. Paul Sharma, Chairman, Commissioner for Agriculture Costs and Prices. Dr. J.K. Jenner, Deputy Director General, India Council for Agricultural Research. Mr. Baldev Prakash, CDM, J&K Bank. Dr. Maharaj Muhutu, Chairman, Roman Foreman Rome and former Chairman Board of Trustees, INBAR, Dr. M.J. Khan, Chairman India, Food and Agriculture. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, esteemed stakeholders of the agricultural sector, good morning. Please permit me at the very outset to express my appreciation to the organizers of this conclave for their kind invitation extended to me to participate in this program and to deliver remarks to this August gathering as you deliberate on the theme, Sustainable Agriculture Systems for a Food Secure Planet. Also, please allow me to congratulate the Agricultural Today group on the occasion of their Silver Jubilee, 25 years. Congratulations. Ladies and gentlemen, our world is facing formidable challenges posed by the effects of the pandemic, conflict, climate change, and supply chain problems, which are consigning millions of food deprivation and have impaired food production and distribution. Owing to the same, the world is presently experiencing a global crisis marked by soaring food prices, heightened food insecurity, and increasing levels of hunger. Achieving a food-secure planet thus demands that the global agri-food systems must be urgently transformed to build a more sustainable, equitable, and resilient food systems, and to accelerate progress towards the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals. In this regard, agriculture has been a mainstay of Guyana's economy for decades, and the government of Guyana has dedicated efforts towards achieving sustainable development and food security. Accordingly, Guyana is pursuing several initiatives. Chief among those are the Vision 25 by 2025. Guyana currently holds responsibility for agriculture, agricultural diversification, and food security within the Caribbean Community CARICOM. To this end, Guyana is leading a regional food security agenda to reduce the region's $7 billion food import bill by 25% by the year 2025. To achieve this, Guyana is collaborating with regional counterparts, addressing policy issues such as regional standards, transportation and logistics, financing for agriculture, and climate-smart agriculture. Guyana is also positioning itself as a leading food producer in CARICOM, providing incentives, capital, land, and opportunities for youth and women to participate in the agricultural transformation. Accordingly, we have embarked on a 35% of all new agro businesses to be led by women and have increased youth participation in agriculture with the use of technology by more than 40%. Guyana is also spearheading President Ali's CARICOM Shade House project, which aims to build 1,000 hydroponic and climate-smart facilities to increase agricultural production and productivity, build climate resilience, and lower emissions. Guyana also serves as the co-chair of the U.S. Caribbean Partnership to Address the Climate Crisis, PACC 2030, under the pillar addressing food security and enhancing local capacity for climate adaptation and resilience. Further, Guyana's low-carbon development strategy is our blueprint for inclusive and sustainable development strategy, and it identifies the path through which our country could preserve its forests while at the same time growing its economy. Among other things, the LCDS intends to protect Guyana's Guyana against climate-related events and biodiversity loss through the promotion of resilient agriculture. Guyana have also hosted several Caribbean agricultural investment forums and expos, which bring together a wide array of agricultural stakeholders, capital and capacity from all over the world to explore opportunities in the Caribbean agricultural sector. This Agriculture Investment Forum is an annual event which takes place in October each year. In this stead, we invite you to be part of this forum, to network, to collaborate, and to explore the opportunities available in the Caribbean agricultural sector. You are aware that India has also made several strides towards sustainable agriculture, which revolves around economically viable and socially and environmentally responsible farming practices. This year, through India's dedicated leadership and advocacy, the United Nations has declared 2023 the International Year of Millets. Guyana commends the Government of India on its leadership on millets, noting that it can play an important role in addressing food security in our world, as well as the attainment of sustainable development. In recognition of the benefits of this superfood, its nutritional qualities, and resilience to the impacts of climate change, Guyana has also dedicated land, 200 acres of land exclusively for millet production. The initial trial of 50 acres of millet cultivation is currently underway. It is important to note that sustainable development cannot be delinked from food security, climate security, and energy security. There should therefore be no reservation that sustainable development is unachievable without food security, and therefore we must collectively act to guarantee its full security by working collectively to dismantle artificial and unwarranted barriers to trade in agricultural commodities, attracting great investments in food production, and promoting wider dissemination of agricultural technologies, especially climate-smart technologies. Operationalizing sustainable agricultural systems requires strong political will, which includes policy reform and investments. Governments must enact policies and incentives and support sustainable agriculture, increase budget allocation, subsidies, sustainable practices, and research for funding is also critical. There must be international collaboration and knowledge exchange. Encourage international forums, participation, partnerships, platforms where exchange of knowledge, best practices can be shared to facilitate technology transfer and to promote sustainable agriculture globally. Thirdly, education and awareness is important. We must empower our farmers, give them the knowledge and the skills and the training that is needed. In extension services also, we encourage universities, research institutions, NGOs to also support farmer education and programs. Additionally, the engagement of the private sector is critical. As such, we must involve our private sector through investments in sustainable agriculture technologies, supporting market access for sustainably produced goods, and fostering partnerships with farming communities. In conclusion, I wish to posit that in spite of the dire situation we have found ourselves in currently, the world's population is increasing. By 2024, it is estimated that there will be an additional 1.4 billion mouths to feed. Food will be in high demand. This represents both an opportunity and a challenge for us to feed ourselves and an economic opportunity to help feed the world. We must therefore reform our food systems in order to respond to these challenges and seize the opportunities that will arise from the demand for more food. In Guyana's case, we intend to become the agricultural heartland of the English-speaking Caribbean, a major food producer and supplier, which will in turn contribute to enhancing local, regional, and international food security. Accordingly, now is the time for us to draw on our collective resolve, commit to sustainable agriculture as the cornerstone of our agricultural policies and the global sustainability agenda. I thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Your Excellency, for that insightful address and sparing your time to be here with us. Ladies and gentlemen, we also have the proud privilege of having amongst us Shri Baldev Prakashji, who is Chairman and Managing Director, Jammu and Kashmir Bank. And I now have the proud privilege in inviting you, sir, for your kind address. Let's put our hands together to welcome, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Vijay Paul Sharma, Chairman, Commission for Agriculture Costs and Prices. Her Excellency, Mrs. Ronaldo Horatio, Honorable High Commissioner, High Commission of Guyana. Dr. Mehraj Muthu, Chairman, Roman Forum. Dr. M.J. Khan, Chairman, Indian Chamber of Food and Agriculture. Mrs. Vinita Singh, Agriculture Today Group. Ladies and gentlemen, let me at the outset express my gratitude to Dr. Khan, Dr. M.J. Khan, for allowing me to share the space with eminent personalities on the dais as well as off the dais. I also congratulate Dr. Khan and his team for completing the Silver Jubilee, the 25 years of Agriculture Today magazine. I will structure my talk in 4 different ways. I will focus more on the agriculture landscape in my home territory, that is Jammu and Kashmir, the challenges which the agriculture is facing in that particular territory, the role of Jammu and Kashmir in supporting the agriculture and horticulture sector in the broader territory of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh, and the way forward and the support which have been provided by the Government of India and Government of Jammu and Kashmir. So, ladies and gentlemen, J&K has a diverse agroclimatic zones which are ranging from plains to high altitude regions, allowing for cultivation of variety of crops. So, horticulture sector plays a significant role in the entire economy of Jammu and Kashmir, and Jammu and Kashmir of late is known for high density apple cultivation in a big manner. The region is also famous for saffron cultivation for long, and in fact this region is a significant contributor of overall saffron of the world, saffron economy of the world. Recently, we have seen the sericulture also contributing to a large extent to the economy of rural Jammu and Kashmir. Livestock farming is also shaping up well in the form of sheep and poultry farming, and it is becoming an integral part of the agriculture economy of the territory. The agriculture landscape, with its scenic beauty, also contributes to the tourism sector, creating large number of opportunity for agro-tourism. Of late, the challenges which are faced by the agriculture sector in our core territory are the challenges of land fragmentation with limited irrigation facilities and the over-dependence on weather conditions, all leading to a reduced agriculture productivity. We are seized of these issues as a bank, as a financial institution, which is a predominant financial institution in the territory, and we are addressing this in our own way. I will explain that a little bit later. So, various government initiatives, both from central government as well as the union territory governments, they are supporting the farmers in a big manner, which includes the subsidized plantations, subsidized services, the agriculture extension services, and credit facilities, which have made a significant impact on the rural economy. The land reforms I would say that were done in a very effective manner in Jammu and Kashmir, and which has addressed the issues of land fragmentation to a large extent. Now, promotion of farmer producer societies or farmer produce FPOs organizations, that is also aimed to address this issue of land fragmentation. There is a growing interest in the organic farmer practices, promoting sustainable and eco-friendly agriculture in the territory. Improving market access and creating better linkages with the farmers and markets are ongoing priorities of the government of India as well as government of Jammu and Kashmir. In this connection, next year, the valley will be connected by way of a rail connectivity, which will have a large significant impact on the logistics for apples and other produces. The research and development in agriculture are crucial for introducing new technologies and crop varieties suitable in the region, which are being done in the state university like SCOST with the support of NABARD and other developmental institutions. Friends, a significant development for apple growers in Jammu and Kashmir has been the central government introduction of minimum import price for apples. This move itself has been widely celebrated by local farmers, and it has protected the interests by preventing tax-free imports. The second initiative is the market intervention scheme for procurement of apples in the Jammu and Kashmir UT has been approved way back in last 2020, which has ensured optimum prices to the apple farmers and give necessary fillip to the local economy. Jammu and Kashmir Bank, being the predominant banking institution having the branches in all small places in the territory, has played a very significant role in the development of farming and agriculture economy. We have a program called KCC Saturation Drive, thereby ensuring that KCC is granted to all eligible farmers. In fact, the target is that within maximum this financial year, all PM Kisan farmers are provided with the KCC facility with debit card so that they are able to withdraw money through the ATM. The innovative approaches and tailor-made solutions like CS store farming, controlled atmosphere store farming, is a sort of cold storage facilities for apples. The bank has financed almost 2,000 crores in the last 1.5 years for 64 CS stores as on date, creating a 2.91 lakh metric ton capacity of high-density plantation, and high-density plantation schemes also tailor-made for the purpose of popularizing the high-density apples among the farmers. We have collaborations and partnerships with the agriculture institutions and the government agencies like NABARD and SCOST Jammu and Srinagar to strengthen the impact of these schemes. We have empowered farmers and supported the rural development into unaccountable success stories, which we celebrate on all our social as well as our hoardings by way of Meri Kahani, Meri Jubani. Ladies and gentlemen, on the part of Jammu and Kashmir, I thank you, the organizers, for recognizing our contribution and inviting us into such an August gathering. And we pledge to continue working towards a sustainable and prosperous future for farmers and rural communities by promoting sustainable and eco-friendly agriculture practices. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Baldev Prakash, for sharing with us the agricultural practices in the state of Jammu and Kashmir, and we do appreciate and convey our gratitude to you for extending your support to us at all times. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I have the privilege in inviting our Honorable Chief Guest, Chairman Commission for Agriculture Cost and Prices, Mr. Vijay Paul Sharma, for his insightful address. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together to welcome sir.
Her Excellency Ms. Edward, Shri Prakash, Dr. Khan, guests on the dais, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, very good morning. Let me first compliment organizers and Dr. Khan in particular for organizing this conclave. My heartiest congratulations to Agriculture Today group and to Dr. Khan, the force behind that whole group, for completing 25 years and contributing significantly towards agriculture sector. And I'm delighted and honored to be a part of this conclave and the Silver Jubilee celebration. You know, agriculture is extremely important, but I think some people think that agriculture contributes 15-16% to the national economy in terms of its contribution to GDP, so it has lost its importance. But I think we must keep in mind that agriculture is still the largest provider of employment to the people. It supports the livelihood of more than 2/3 of our total population. So from that socio-economic perspective, I think agriculture is the most important sector even today. And if this 15-16% GDP does well, it takes care of your 2/3 of the population. So we must keep in mind the social impact of this sector, not in terms of looking at purely the numbers in terms of its contribution to GDP. And there has been a paradigm shift in our agriculture policy when Honorable Prime Minister shared his vision of doubling farmers' income in 2016. And I think the major shift which took place after that was that our approach, which was production-centric, so most of the time we were deciding certain or setting certain targets for production of food grains, horticulture, and different crops. And that focus shifted from that production-centric approach to, farmers' income and welfare-oriented approach. And I think today, farmers' income and farmers' welfare is at the center stage of all our policy formulation and implementation. And I see a very dramatic change in our thinking, both at the federal level and at the state level. So that's a very positive sign in terms of our, that approach towards agriculture development. And Indian agriculture has been scaling new heights year after year. And last year in 22-23, we had a record production of almost all agriculture commodities. Talk about food grains, about 332 million tons. Talk about rice, 135 million tons. Wheat, 110 million tons. Pulses, 26-27 million tons. So it's not only crop sector. Then you go to the livestock sector, you go to the horticulture sector. The horticulture production was 352 million tons, much larger than our total food grain production. And similarly, look at the milk production, more than 220 million tons. So very, very, significant increase in our production on the crop sector, on livestock and fisheries. And that's primarily because of, both the supply side and demand side drivers. So if I look at, the mega trends which are driving this growth in agriculture sector is, as I said, if I look at the, the demand side. And one of the most important driver is the, rising income and demographic changes which are happening. If you look at India's growth story in terms of our rising per capita income, that's one driver. And in terms of demographic, I think three important factors. One is there is a rapid urbanization which is happening, and it would continue to happen. So that's one. So that decides the way we consume and what kind of products we consume. The second demographic, factor is India has one of the largest young population in the world, and the aspirations of the young population are entirely different from what we see in the middle or the older groups. And the third is the participation of women in our workforce has increased in the last 10, 15 years. So today, both husband and wife, they are working. And, when both are working, I think they don't have so much of time for cooking. So the demand for your ready to cook, ready to eat, and the processed or ultra-processed foods has gone up. So that's on the demand side. So rising income and these demographic changes are, creating some kind of a trigger on the production side. And the second important driver of demand side is trade-driven opportunities. When Indian agriculture was opened up in the early 90s and the later part of 90s, I think one of the, most of the people were fearing that agriculture sector would be hit because of, opening up. But I think agriculture sector is one of the few sectors which has done pretty well after, trade liberalization. Our agriculture exports last year, 22-23, our agriculture exports were about 4.4 lakh crore. And during last 5 to 6 years, our agriculture exports increased from 2.2 lakh crores to 4.4 lakh crores. So almost, doubled our agriculture exports. Even during last 3 years, 2021, 21-22, and 22-23, there's a 40% increase in agriculture exports. So that's on the demand side. Similarly, there are certain mega trends or certain drivers on the supply side. And one of the, the supply side is, the technological disruptions. So I'm not talking about green revolution. I'm not talking about BT cotton. The new technologies which we are talking about because of the, the new generation agriculture, like you're talking about artificial intelligence, you're talking about machine learning, you're talking about satellite-based, technologies. So these are the kind of technologies which would shape up your agriculture sector in the coming years. So that's on the supply side, but we do have certain constraints on the supply side. For example, we have limited resources, be it your land or your water resources. Our net sown area has remained at about 140 to 140 million hectares for the last 3 decades. In fact, we have lost almost 2 to 3 million hectares agriculture land. That's on paper, but if you look at the reality, I think we have lost large tracts of productive land of agriculture, crops. But we do need, land for infrastructure development. We do need land for, industrial development and other activities. So there's going to be a stiff competition for resources, particularly land and water, which is the most scarce resource. Again, the same kind of, problem we are facing. Another, that mega trend is, food losses and food wastages. So food losses are typically, because of poor post-harvest infrastructure and poor post-harvest management, so that requires a tremendous kind of investment in, development of your post-harvest infrastructure, whether it's your storage or it's warehousing or processing or any other infrastructure which is required. But the second part, the food wastage is a part of our behavior. And I think we are all responsible for that. You can see when we have any social gathering, be it your social function, be it your conference or any event, you would find we waste a lot of food. And even you can see during lunchtime, there would be at least 25 to 30% wastage of food. And I think we are all responsible for that. So we don't need any infrastructure, we don't need any money. We need only the change in our mindset. And I think that should start from the individuals. So that's another, the dimension. But this sector also faces a whole lot of challenges. One of the major challenges that if you're talking about, feeding, 10 billion people by 2050, that means we need to produce 70 to 75% more food. Given the situation that all the production resources, starting from land, water, and other production resources, they are going to be limited. So how do we, increase that production, that 70 to 75% more production, where there's going to be reduction in area under agriculture, there's going to be competition for water resources, there's going to be competition for all production resources. So that's a real challenge. Second is, looking at typically, India and most of the developing countries, this small and fragmented farm size is another problem, because if you want homes as an important agenda, and again, because land being a state subject, it's difficult, on the part of the states to, take those initiatives. The third, the real challenge is the climate change and climate variability. And we don't need any modeling for that. We have experienced it during the last few years, and this year you can see that you had during summer, which used to the peak season of summer, you didn't have that summer season. When it's winter season, you would find now we are towards the end of December, but still you don't feel like it's a winter. Again, look at the monsoon season. So we had no rains in August. So we had heat stress for the wheat crop during March. So it's a climate change and climate variability which is going to influence our agriculture, and I think we need more technologies which are more adaptable to climate change and climate variability, or technologies which are climate resilient. So that's another area. Another problem is we have a double burden of on one side we have a large section of the society, particularly women and children, who are undernourished. There's a problem of malnutrition. But we do have the others on the other spectrum. We have a set of people where we have all kinds of lifestyle diseases, be it your obesity, be it your hypertension, be it your any other lifestyle disease, and that's primarily because of the way we eat and the kind of food we eat. Because the consumption of your energy-dense diets, whether it's livestock products or it's processed or ultra-processed foods, that has gone up, and that has led to these lifestyle diseases. And it's irrespective of rural and urban divide. It's irrespective of the young and older generation. Now you find the lifestyle diseases even in rural areas. You find these lifestyle diseases even in the young generation who are in 20s or even in some cases in teens. So we need to keep that balance, that how do we address that issue of malnutrition on one hand, and how do we address the issue of that overnutrition or overconsumption in one set of society. And that's going to be a real challenge for the policy planners and all of us. Another is when we are talking about our consumption is moving away from staple like rice and wheat towards more high value agriculture, be it your horticulture crops or fruits and vegetables, maybe livestock products, meat and meat products, poultry, fish, and the processed and ultra processed products. So that means we are moving towards more perishable commodities because the shelf life of these commodities or these products is very, short. So we need more investment in terms of what the CMD of J&K Bank was talking about, creating the sea storage for apples. So we need, similar kind of investment on the post-harvest infrastructure and the market side of it. Today, our markets are more suitable for non-perishables like rice, wheat, and pulses, but they're not suitable for horticulture crops or livestock or fisheries. And we need more investment in that segment, and I don't think government can make that investment because that investment has to primarily come from private sector. But unfortunately, if I look at the total investment in agriculture sector, about 15-16% comes from the government sector, that's from public sector. 85%, nearly about 85% comes from the household sector, that means the farmers. And the corporate sector investment, that's the pure private sector investment, is less than 2%. And I don't think any sector can grow with less than 2% investment from the corporate sector. So I think we need very enabling policy and environment. We need certain kind of incentive structures where we are able to attract more private investment into agriculture sector, agriculture value chains. And if we are able to take this 2% private sector investment to 10%, I'm sure the whole scenario of agriculture sector would change. But again, as I said, that we need these concerted efforts both at the central government level and the state government level. The central government has taken several initiatives to attract that private investment. Some state governments are very proactive in terms of creating that enabling policy environment. But I think it's a teamwork. We are both the central government and the state government, along with the industry, has to work together and see that if there are certain stumbling blocks, if there are certain barriers for our private sector investment, we should remove those investment, whether it's policy related or it's incentive related. You must have seen because there are certain geopolitical, problems, and the intensity of those problems is also increasing over a period of time, and because of that, you would find that the global agriculture markets are becoming much more volatile and they are becoming much more, unpredictable. And most of the countries are much more concerned about their self-sufficiency, and So we are moving towards more, restrictive policy environment, more protective policy environment, even in the global market. So that's also a concern where we might lose out on, the export opportunities. And I think in order to address these problems, we need to work on 4 important pillars which are essential for agriculture growth. I'll not get into the details, but one is the technology. So whether it's on the production side or it's on the value addition side, so we need more technologies, which are, for example, on the production side, we need more technologies which are climate resilient. We need more technologies on the post-harvest side for value addition and other related areas. So any sector which has to grow, that has to be driven by technology. So our first pillar has to be strengthened is in terms of technology. So we need better, R&D system. We need more investment into agriculture, research and development. And the second is, we need to have a state-of-art infrastructure. In fact, in our case, the infrastructure, both in the rural and urban areas, has improved quite a lot. If you look at the road infrastructure, I think one of the best road infrastructure in our country during the last few years. But in addition to road, we need to look at investment in irrigation development. We need to look at investment in, the connectivity. That's basically your basic infrastructure, which would primarily come from the public sector. But if I'm looking at the market infrastructure would come from the private sector. So we need to get more private sector investment into that. So the second pillar is, which need to be strengthened, is on infrastructure development. And there are a lot of things which need to be done. Third is, the institutions. If you look at our history, we had very strong rural institutions, whether these were cooperatives or these were Panchayati Raj institutions. And when we are talking about, the majority of our farmers, small and marginal farmers, we need, very strong institutions. Those institutions could connect the producers with the markets. And, the government has taken a lot of initiatives, whether it's the strengthening of primary agriculture credit societies or setting up of farm producers organizations. So that means that the third pillar has to be more strengthening of our institutions. And fourth pillar, which is extremely important, is, the right incentive to the producers. So farmer would produce only those commodities or those crops where he finds or she finds it more profitable. So we need to have certain kind of, systems through which we are able to incentivize our farmers. And that incentivization has to be in line with what the market demand is. So if the demand is more for horticulture crops or livestock sector, I think we need to incentivize our livestock farmers and horticulture farmers. So incentive structure could be one is, the government has very strong support of minimum support price MSP, and which our commission is mandated, and procurement policy. But I think more important is getting private sector into that, because if we get into the value addition, if we get into, post-harvest management systems, probably the food wastages would be on the lower side, and we would be able to, provide more, higher returns to the farmers. So the fourth pillar is the incentive structure. And, the government has tried its level best and is trying its level best to, strengthen these 4 pillars of technology, infrastructure, institution, and right kind of incentive. So I'm sure if we work as a team, as I said, both the central and the state government, industry, R&D institutions, various other development organizations, I'm sure this sector has a great scope, and it requires, special kind of a hand-holding, primarily because of the nature of our production system, which is much more scattered and predominantly by small and marginal farmers. And one of the areas where we are not very strong is the market information, market intelligence system. And I'm happy to note that your Agriculture Today magazine is such an instrument which at least provides some information to the farmers. In fact, we need many more such initiatives which are able to provide the right information at the right point in time to the farmers. So I'm sure the deliberations of this conclave would be extremely useful for policy planners and to the practitioners also. So let me again thank organizers for providing me this opportunity, and I wish you all the best and look forward to the proceedings of this conclave. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much indeed, sir, for your inspirational address. And we also thank you for sparing your valuable time in gracing this occasion. And now, ladies and gentlemen, to close the proceedings of the inaugural session, I invite Ms. Vinita Singh from Agriculture Today Group to kindly propose the vote of thanks.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Agriculture Today Group, I would like to extend sincere gratitude towards the distinguished guests on the dais, sponsors, speakers, and the attendees. As with this, we officially inaugurate the second day of 14th edition of Agriculture Leadership Conclave and Awards 2023. We hope we would be able to deliver something productive out of the discussions and deliberations which took yesterday and which shall be taking place today. Apart from this, yesterday we presented the second Dr. M.S. Swaminathan Award to Ambassador Kenneth Quinn with 1 million Indian rupees for his exemplary contributions to the agriculture. Apart from this, today evening, we shall be felicitating various states, institutions, individuals, and organizations for their outstanding contribution to the agriculture and allied sectors. Apart from this, we are also expecting Honorable Minister of Agriculture, Shri Arjun Munda ji, to be here with us in the evening to present the awards. We are looking forward to a successful and a fruitful event with your continued support. Thank you all.
Thank you very much indeed. And ladies and gentlemen, I once again take this opportunity to thank all our distinguished dignitaries present here with us for the inaugural session. I would request everyone to kindly step forward for a group photograph. And I would request Dr. Khan to kindly do the honors of felicitating or conveying our gratitude with a green potted plant. We present to Shri Vijay Paul Sharma, Chairman, Commission for Agriculture Cost and Prices, our Honorable Chief Guest. We present to Mr. Baldev Prakash, Chairman and Managing Director, Jammu and Kashmir Bank. We present to Her Excellency, Ms. Ronalda Horatio Edward, and we present to Dr. Maharaj Muthu, Chairman, Roman Forum, Rome. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is a small gesture of gratitude, a green initiative from Agriculture Today Group for all our dignitaries. And now can we have the group photograph, please? And I would request everyone to kindly remain seated as we straightaway move to the next session, which is on achieving global nutrition security through millets. Ladies and gentlemen, kindly remain seated. Give us a few minutes while we arrange the top table for the next session. I would like to invite on stage our distinguished chairperson for the session, Mr. Deepak Pari, co-founder, AgriFit AI. I invite on stage, yes, let's put our hands together to welcome our chairperson. And I invite our eminent co-chair for this session, Dr. C. Tara Satyavati, Director, Indian Institute of Millets Research. I invite our co-chair, Dr. C. Tara Satyavati. A very warm welcome to you, ma'am. Let's put our hands together, ladies and gentlemen, to welcome our eminent co-chair. I invite our eminent panelists, Ms. Annapurna, Head Agriculture in West India. I invite Mr. Vijay Nadmati, CEO and Director, AG Hub, Mr. Satyanarayan Raman, CEO, Millet Mart, and Dr. Udita Ghosh Sarkar, Associate Director, Grameen Foundation. So, ladies and gentlemen, the topic for the session is Achieving Global Nutrition Security Through Millets, and the time duration is approximately 1 hour. With those words, I hand over to our chair and co-chair to carry forward the proceedings of the session. Over to you.
Hello, everyone. Excuse me, ma'am. We have to start, yeah. So, great to be here, and actually the topic which we are having for this session is very interesting, and it is interesting because of multiple reasons. Definitely, like, we are coming towards the end of 2023 being year of millets, and this year has, at least for me, based on what I've been able to engage with different stakeholders over past 1 year, that it's a huge opportunity, but maybe it is also an opportunity which has, I would say, that not yielded the results, right? Which as an ecosystem player I would like to see. We have seen that thing happening in 2015 when it was a year of pulses, right? And a lot of effort, a lot of activity was done around pulses. But if you see today, again, we are back to square one. 2023, we are saying that the import of pulse will again increase, and it has been increasing past 2 years. If you see in past at least 2 months, right, the prices of millets, right, especially jowar and ragi, we are seeing that there have been increase of 30 to 40% in those commodities. And one of the reasons very rightly is that because we have been talking about millet so much in every conference within India, outside India, that it has created humongous demand for those commodity. Previously, जो थोड़े ग्रामीण परिवेश के लोग हैं जानते हैं कि चारे के लिए यूज उग गया, उगा दिया, खिला दिया, राइट, थोड़ा बहुत घर में यूज कर लिया. That was what millet used to be. Now it is toast of the town. We are talking about millet noodles, we are talking about porridges, we are talking about cakes. So there have been a lot of innovation when it comes to the startup who have been active in millet sector. But one of the very critical factor is that when we create demand, are we also sufficiently taking care of the supply? Now, supply is one of the biggest challenge because we have not done the level of research which is required, specifically when we talk about cultivation of millets. The productivities are still very low. If you see past 2 to 3 years, I have hardly seen that we have come out with some innovation in seed technology or cultivation technology where we are able to increase yield by 15%, 20%, 30%. Because until and unless we achieve that, I doubt that actually the millet will become mainstream. It will become a niche food, super food for super rich people, right? But when you see that the basic premise of the International Year of Millet was that make millet popular among masses. Why? Because it is having so much of value as a nutritional product when we replace it from other cereals, whether it's rice or wheat. The type of nutrients, the micronutrients, the minerals which millets provide is extraordinary. But again, coming back to a very vital point which I believe the panelists will also delve upon, that I'm having a question for all of you sitting here on the dais as well as sitting there. Where do we see millets? Do we see it as a possibility of huge export from India, making money and serving the plates and forks of global clientele, where we see that the Americans, the Canadians, the British would sever like our Alpanzo, right? It goes across the world, but generally when we as an Aam Janta, not that Aam, but Aam Janta, right? We still have the Daseris and the Totapuris for us. Do we see millet going that direction? That the cookies of ragi and jowar and bajra would be all exported because Indians cannot afford it? Or do we see it as a food which would solve some of the challenges we as a nation are facing? Every third kid in India is stunted. Millet can solve that problem. But would the accessibility for that millet, for that poor family would be there or not? Even if you see in public distribution, I am not seeing too much of millets. For very simple reason, we don't have that level of production, right? Now, I'll open with Annapurna ji, like, she's from Invest India. Your views on where do you see, like, government of India with its investment policies and focus trying to take it forward? Yeah, please, please. Whatever is comfortable to you. I'll also take that.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Annapurna Shankar. Just to introduce my organization, I work for Invest India. It is the National Investment Promotion Agency under the Government of India. Our core mandate is investment promotion and facilitation, promoting ease of doing business by way of helping companies with any issues they may be facing, be it with state or central ministries. We also work on policy recommendations, so we do stakeholder consultations with companies working in a particular subsector just to understand the roadblocks that they may be facing and take it to the Ministry of Agriculture, understand how state and center can help in improving the business ecosystem in that particular sector. To answer Mr. Pari's question, I do feel that the International Year of Millets has shown some results. It may be slow, but I do feel that there is a change for the positive. A lot of state governments are also showing a lot of interest in promoting millets. There are a lot of awareness programs that are taking place. Farmers are being educated on how to produce millets, improve the yields, improve the quality of what they're producing. It is slow, but it is happening. As far as investments go, see, that is something that the private sector has to take more care of. The government has come out with specific schemes for the sector. MOFP runs a particular scheme for millets. There is also PMFME. There is AIF under the Ministry of Agriculture that is has been put in place so that people investing in the sector also get some sort of subsidies from the government. There is a lot of scope for companies and businesses to utilize these particular schemes, which again is not happening as much as it should. But it is something that is taking place. There has been a minor increase in the yield of millets in the past few years. There has been some interest from international companies as well in setting up units in India. The biggest problem that we're currently facing is in terms of production, as Mr. Parikh had highlighted earlier as well, which is why we need to collaborate with other countries. We probably need to push for more research. ICR and IMR are doing a fantastic job in terms of identifying startups that can help. But then there is more support that industry needs to provide at this point to actually boost the sector and help eradicate certain problems that the sector faces.
Thanks for your intervention. Yes, so thanks for your intervention. So, ma'am, I would like to now go to you, right? What are your views and perspective about, like, the challenges of having the right supply? Because I think eventually, like, cost of any commodity is based on the supply and demand, right? We have been able to create sufficient visibility which has increased the demand, but supply still remains concern for majority of the millet, except, like, if you see bajra, right? Everything is like, is 2 times, 3 times costlier than the other grains, and the affordability then becomes a challenge. Your view on that, ma'am?
A very good afternoon to you all. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers for inviting us to be part of this very important discussion. As the Director, Indian Institute of Millet Research, I would just like to respond to the comments you have made in your initial comments. See, the change that happened in the millets over the past 60, 70 years cannot be undone overnight. Maybe just because we are celebrating 1 year of International Year of Millets, it cannot be undone within an overnight. No magical wand can do that. So the things have to be built up gradually, and the kind of traction, the demand, the awareness, the promotion that has happened due to International Year of Millets have to be captured, and then we need to go gradually in the direction of positive growth. And there is definitely positive growth, and you can see now people are aware of what is the importance of millets, what is the nutritional superiority of these millets, and how climate resilient these are in the wake of changing climatic conditions. So not only we cannot just say from business perspective, yes, economics is important, but we have to see from an integrated way, and also the vision should be in that direction. Because of this popularization, promotional activities of International Year of Millets, significant traction has been seen in the demand for millets and its products. If you look into the demand which has come for the various millet products is mainly for ragi and other small millets, which are available in small quantity. If you look into the overall distribution or availability of different millets in this country, pearl millet contributes to nearly 60% of the total production, followed by 27% by sorghum, then 7% by ragi, and remaining by small millets. Now, if all the manufacturers of all the startups or the entrepreneurs just focus their attention only on these small fragment of millets, then definitely there will be a competition and there will be a price hike, and then it will go beyond the reach of the common man. The very purpose of International Year of Millets is to bring millets back into the diets of every individual, not only in this country, across the globe. So, if we are focusing on only one segment and then we extrapolate it to others and say that maybe this is not going to be successful, that is not the right way. I'm sorry to make a difference, but yes, this is the fact which I need to bring in front of everyone. And coming to the technologies, we have a number of high-yielding cultivars, either in pearl millet or sorghum or ragi or foxtail millet or all millets. We are working hard, and we have a number of cultivars released. More than 235 cultivars are released and are in seed chain for the past 10 years, in the past 10 years. So where is the lacuna? The seed is being produced. When there is no demand, no one will produce. Now, all of a sudden we have created the demand and then we say we are falling shortage of supply. This is going to happen. But if you also look into the statistics across, the decrease in area of millets was significant. It was somewhere to 35 million hectares way back in 60s. Now we are only 12.7 to 30 million hectares. So can we expect this much of production from that much area? In spite of the decrease in area, there was a significant improvement in the productivity in millets, and there is no decrease in production data if you compare to the one which we got from 35 million hectares. Now we are able to reap from 12.7 million hectares. So, in spite of the decline in area, there is a significant, very significant improvement in the productivity. Now, because of that, in the wake of increased demand, naturally, it will take some time, and then we'll be able to meet the increased demand for the grain. So, it is the collective wisdom and effort from all the sectors, not only from agriculture or the research sector, the farmers, the entrepreneurs, the startups, the investors, everyone have to put their efforts together in a positive note to make this International Year of Millets or the momentum that has been created by people to make it happen. Also, the International Year of Millets does not say that you remove rice or wheat from your diets. That is a misnomer. Please understand, as per the recommendation of the National Institute of Nutrition, 1/3 of your calorie intake from the cereal has to be replaced with millets. They don't say that you replace 100% rice or 100% wheat. Please include or diversify your diet with millets. That is what we say. So there are many misnomers or misunderstandings among the common public which need to be cleared, And also we understand that the change, the positive change will happen gradually and we can see the positive note. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
No, ma'am, actually, in fact, I really appreciate, I had opportunity of, in fact, visiting your institute a couple of years back, and the work done by NutriHub, if I'm not wrong, like, of promoting millets even before when actually the International Year of Millet was not there, has been very commendable, and so many startup actually which have, currently I'm saying that if we have top 10 millet startup, at least 6 or 7 would be coming from your stable. So it's a huge achievement of Institute of Millet Research, IMR. And now I would like to go to a gentleman who actually has been facing such problems. What is your perspective as someone actually who is a CEO of a company which is actually into the millet ecosystem, a value chain? And what do you see as a challenge? As Madam rightly said, that actually things cannot happen overnight. Breeding process takes its own time. But at the same time, as an entrepreneur, once you make an investment, you want to see that the profitability comes fast.
Thank you, sir. I am an incubatee of IIMR. Okay. And my name is Satyanarayan Raman. People call me Satya. And I am the CEO of AA Millet Foods and Enterprises Private Limited. So I am a technologist who provide solutions for the future technologies in the industries of defense, healthcare, and agriculture. So I am a resource consultant for 31 African Asian Rural Development Organization countries in the areas of millet and other agriculture produce. And I am a member of Ministry of Information and Advanced Technology, the Federal Metrology Department of Government of UAE. And I am also a Technology Government Steering Committee member for Government of India through All India Council of Robotics and Automation. See, last year, same time, when myself and ex-DG of NIC were working on a national building project called Smart Tribal Farming. It was for the digitization of 225 tribal villages, and we were giving a proposal where it is for developing the sustainability and development and growth and providing profitability for the tribal farmers for millet cultivation, and also identifying entrepreneurs. Okay, so we identified when we gave the proposal, it was accepted by Ministry of Tribal Welfare, Government of India, last year to 2022 August, and it was also accepted by the Prime Minister Office in December 2022 this year. So I told in Delhi, same time last year, that we have technologies in India, okay, and if we implement that, we can make India as a superpower for agriculture in the next 5 years. So having said that, I went outside India to understand what is the demand for agriculture produce which are produced from India and what is the expectation. So I launched International Year of Millets in Indonesia, Jakarta, and Medan City last year same time, and also in Namur in Brussels in Belgium in Jan 2023, and I was able to talk to the different departments, Food and Agriculture Department there, FDA, to understand what we need and what are the gaps we have. And I'm coming here and I'm considering Agriculture Today group as an outreach, because I'm talking to different government bodies, different corporates, to see what is the gap, what to meet the expectations, and what is the demand which is there outside. So I set up my office in Gulf, Dubai last 1 year, and I'm coming here, and today I'm giving a mandate to Government of India for 1,000 crore rupees of value-added millet products from India. It needs to be produced. And last week I gave a mandate for 150 crores to the state government of Tamil Nadu, and they accepted that, and they called me for the GIM, which is the Global Investor Meet, which is happening on Jan 7th and 8th. So the next few minutes, I'm aligning my speech to answer all your questions so that it gets answered properly on what is the advantage we have and what is the appreciation which other countries have developed for the products which are developed in India, so that we are all aligned and we can work towards such expectations. See, first thing is, see, I'll quickly talk about the 11 different millet and control it through IoT and AI so that the yield of millets will increase.
Sir, I would like you to be a little bit brief because there are other speakers as well. So please try to be brief because
Yeah, sure, no
let's
problem.
focus on millet because IoT, satellite technology. There are other sessions also which will cover that. So let's try to restrict ourselves with millet, sir.
Yeah. So there is a demand for 1,000 crores of millets where the expectations from countries like Europe and countries like Middle East is that there has to be a uniform quality improvement process that needs to be adopted at the country level. Okay, and when that is the case, they are ready to import products from India into their country. And one thing which I have proposed, the same solution which I have given to IMR, to the Ministry of Information and Advanced Technology for UAE is that then they have accepted me as a member. So one thing which is lacking is the overall process, consistency in the process that needs to be developed. When we develop a value-added product with same process across the country, then that is going to have a major demand in the global market. The second thing is the taste. When I launched my products in Dubai, because I know the mindset of the people, I have to give them in a taste which they like it. So the taste of the millets can be, first time when foreigners take it, they'll feel that, oh, why is that I'm getting a different taste? So that can be altered using some recipes, what you add, the spices. That can be given to the people, which people can accept it, then there is a lot of acceptance. I see that, both in Middle East as well as in Far East Asian, Southeast Asian countries. Also in Kuala Lumpur, which I did last couple of weeks back when I tried to launch one of the product there.
So I would like to go to Dr. Udita. Ma'am, how do we I'll say that motivate farmers to move back to millets, right? When actually if I am a farmer growing wheat or paddy, based on my productivity and when I calculate my profitability and ease of market where actually I sell it on MSP to the government and in case prices are high, I sell it to the market. Now moving that farmer and motivating them to go back and cultivate millet, how do you see that as a challenge and how it can be solved? Because you work on the grassroots level.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Parekh. And thanks and congratulations to Agriculture today for completing the Silver Jubilee, which in itself is a very big milestone in one's lifetime. Yeah, thanks. Coming back to your point, in fact, I'm representing Grameen Foundation of India, and we work with the grassroots people. We are social researchers. We travel across the country as well as we interact with the producers itself. Coming back to millet, coming back to your point, Mr. Parekh, we would see, and we are seeing that in the rural areas, that because of its short lifespan of the production of that product, it is being accepted in the rural areas. And during our journey, during our travel across the rural areas, we are seeing that people have started cultivating millets to a great extent. And I will cite an example of Orissa. Orissa, in fact, I traveled to Koraput, I traveled to Noyagad, Rayagada, and I have seen to myself that you have millet cafe all across the state, where the state government is promoting millets to a great extent. And in the millet cafe, when you compare the millet cafe in Koraput and the millet cafe in Bhubaneswar, there is a change in the consumer type, right? So it's not only that it's catering to the urban sector or the elite sector or the have sector, but even it is catering to the people who are at the grassroots level. So even the pattern of food, even I would agree with Ma'am Satyavati when she said it is gradual, and in fact our own food pattern, our pattern of eating, our behavior, everything has to be synchronized and changed, and it's a slow process. We can't expect, just because it's a year, international year of millet, that everybody will switch over to millet. No, neither we are expecting that. Neither government or UN, anybody is expecting that. We are seeing Monda being provided at the ICDS centers, at the Anganwadi centers. The same thing had happened when soya bean had started. In a long back, when I being quite old, and when I started my career long in 90s, late 90s, during that time, corn soya blend and the soya, it was being distributed in the Anganwadi center. The same thing which is happening with millets now. The monda, the ragi monda, it is being distributed and it is part of the Anganwadi centers in few of the states. At least I have seen in Jharkhand, I have seen in Orissa, and in few of the tribal belts of West Bengal also. But it has to be across, and we are seeing millets being grown by the producers, being the farmers at a large level. And to answer to your point, Mr. Parekh, you have startups, you have these producers, the local farmers who are in fact the aggregators who come to these producers and collect the millets at regular interval, and the farmers are getting their return. That is, so it is a holistic approach, coming back to your word, in fact, of holistic and comprehensive approach, whereby everybody is a partner to it. Everybody is a stakeholder to it, and I would consider millet to be the nucleus and everybody to a party to it. Thank you.
So
I think I could answer your point.
Perfect, ma'am. In fact, I have always believed that women in agriculture, they are always having a compassion about the larger picture, right? And male always generally think about the business aspect. So 3 ladies on this panel, they've given me sufficient comfort that we are going in right direction. One talked about how she's ensuring that there is investment coming in the millets. Other talked about the research, the effort being done. And madam, again, I love your example of Orissa, because I also had opportunity of traveling and seeing the millet mission in Orissa. And in fact, they started doing it before the world was even talking about
Exactly so. Yeah. And even, the education at the school level, the awareness by the various NGOs, the local NGOs. The best part is this. In Orissa, the various NGOs across the state, they are being partners of Millet Mission of India. So, in fact, their continuous mobilization, the advocacy at the school level, at the panchayat level, that is also giving a positive result. And we can see whereby, in fact, the community knows the nutritional value of millets.
I totally agree. No, I'll go to Vijay. So Vijay, you have been old hat in nurturing startup in various, I'll say that, sub-sectors of agriculture. I would like to understand your views on where do you see that startup working in millets, their current status, and where are the opportunities? Or do you think we are a little bit early in promoting too many startup millets while we are still having some of the teething troubles which need to solve?
Thank you, Deepak. First of all, thank you Agriculture Today for calling me over here, and congratulations for the Silver Jubilee. Talking about your question about my experience in the startup ecosystem pertaining to the millet companies. In fact, my journey of the startup ecosystem started by promoting millet-based startups. My first company was a millet company way back in 2015. A startup called Inner Being Wellness, and also another startup called Millet Bowl, which was a part of our incubation accelerator programs, and also which we had also later invested in. Having understood since then, there has been quite a lot in terms of not just startups overall, but also millet-based startups. Today, India has IMR definitely is there, and NutriHub, of course, which has been doing a lot of work. And there are almost 100 plus millet-based startups in the ecosystem, which are working on various ready-to-cook, ready-to-eat, and the snacking segment. Early days of millet was largely about ready-to-cook products and few into ready-to-eat. But now you also see incidentally a lot of snacking items into the ecosystem, largely driven by the research institutions, ICR, IMR predominantly, and also I come from AGA, which is a part of the Agriculture University, Professor Jayashankar University in the state of Telangana, which also has a RKVY supported incubation center, millet processing incubation center, which has capabilities to build ready to cook, ready to eat and the snacking products. In fact, one of the incubators funded by the Minister of Food Processing in the PGTSA campus, which is a food processing incubator focused on millets, is a focus that the state of Telangana and by and large these institutions have been doing to promote millets. Having talked about the ecosystem, on the one side you have public institutions promoting the research capability, lot of hybrids, the processing capabilities, pilot production capabilities, and lot of technologies for licensing to the entrepreneurs. On the other side of the spectrum, you see a lot of these technology companies, and most so the millet-based food product technologies, which are working across the spectrum of millet food products, and you see a variety of these, right? They literally talk about millet-based ready-to-cook items to eat, and sometimes you literally see a lot of culinary elements being tried on. Especially when you talk about millets as a food product or a startup, most important aspect that we have to focus is on the culinary aspect of it. You know, as to in terms of the taste, the palatability, the fiber aspect, and these are all the aspects which gets the customers to kind of incline towards this. Number one, and that is where most of these startups are trying to address on. Number one. Number two, of course, most of these startups which are working on millets have been able to take this millet to the much needed impetus of the branding and marketing, which are adding to the efforts of the government and the ICR ecosystem. And these millet startups, when we see, largely they started with cookie products, and then they slowly got into ready to cook items, largely getting into millet batters or millet dosa, idli, or millet upma, and then slowly people started talking about millet-based value-added snacking segments like jowar puffs. So a lot of these things are there. So I think largely, as I see today, there's a healthy ecosystem of having a millet-focused institutions and the incubators and the startups, and of course a large varieties that are there for larger customer acceptance. On the other side, when we talk about how big is the millet market, as I see in the statistics, definitely millet market is sizable. It is almost like $12 billion globally. And when we talk about almost like 30 million hectares is the kind of production area that is already there, and 32 million metric tons of production which is there. So all of these statistics are adding to the fact gaining momentum. And India, with its almost 40% of production capability across the globe, is making a major destination for India to be a production capital. So when we talk about all of these being good, then what are the challenges in the ecosystem? Let's try to understand that. I'll just take another 1 minute. So given understanding that there's a lot of potential and a lot of things happening in the government and even reputed corporates like Britannia having millet products, on the other side startups, Spectrum building the products, where are the challenges? The challenge is not about millet production or the customer or the brands or the products. It's all about the kind of production capability, right? Most of the startups that I see or engage, they are struggling to kind of build a pilot production capability. They are incidentally going to contract manufacturing facilities. To a certain extent, yes, they do get the pilot production capability from IIMR, NutriHub, or the university that I work with. But incidentally, there's a lot of pilot production capability that is required. And on the millet startups, I also see a couple of startups are going beyond food products. They're also going on the food fortification side of it. I have a startup which is working on millet-based flatbreads, trying to get the acceptance of the millets as millet naans, I would like to say. There's also kind of startups that I work with which are working on plant-based protein, but they're also incidentally working on extraction of protein isolates from millets. So they are slowly working on that direction. So you're slowly seeing that the startups which have earlier been working on the food products have slowly been able to work on the ingredient level. And so the ecosystem is maturing a little bit, not only in terms of the number, but also in the clarity of the founders to think on the innovation per se, or the ingredient level, then this being at the product level. So the ecosystem is definitely maturing. On the other side, definitely the food processing institutions, apart from the IIMR, the NIFTEM, Sonipat, and the CFTRI, IACPT, the various such food processing ecosystems are adding impetus to the kind of food processing and the technology capability in millets. So the challenge is what I clearly see. One, pilot production capability, number one. Number two, the customer acceptance of the products. Especially most of the customers have largely been inclining to the mostly acceptable forms of the millet, let's say millet noodles or those kind of things rather than. So I think it's also important that the millet companies try to understand the palatability, taste, and the preference form in which the customers would incline to, right? There are few startups I know which are working on millet pizza basis, right? So I think we have to go by the trend, connecting the dots in terms of not just the food as a product, but also inclining to what the customers, the form in which the customers would incline to. So these are a couple of things that if the startups are able to address on the pilot production and of course the processing capability and the customer palatability and inclination, and most importantly it is also about the funding element. So and there are a couple of startups in the millet space which have been getting funds of course, but there's a large need of funding ecosystem that is also required to complement the efforts of startups to kind of or complete the kind of ecosystem. That's my perspective.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Vijay. So in fact, 2017-18, I have worked very closely with ICRISET on millet aspect. Even that time, the thoughts and the discussion were going on, India's proposal to UN, FAO, on the millets. I have opportunity of contributing to that as well. Now, in fact, I was in COP28 very recently in Dubai, and there has been a huge amount of fund which has been allocated for actually climate resilient agriculture. And I believe millet plays a very, very important role into that. And with availability of multiple $billion for agriculture, because as we all know that the greenhouse gases as well as the consumption of water, is humongous in agriculture. 30% of GHGs is because of agriculture and 70% of fresh water withdrawal is because of agriculture. And millets solve both of those problems. So for the concluding remark, I would request Satyavati ji to take the mic and take it forward, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deepak ji. Very rightly said and pointed out by different panelists in various angles. See, these millets are the nutri-cereals because they're rich in nutrients and they're climate resilient, which would be catering to the need for the changing climate. No doubt in that. Now, when we talk of the availability of millets, whether it is in PDS or freely available or in abundance, the point comes with the different state governments. See, these national plans are done by central government. We all of us understand that agriculture is the state subject, and in our country at least, different state governments have their say in agriculture. Like we have seen very clear-cut, glaring example of Orissa, how the state government has come forward and they have taken up the millets to a next level. It's really very, very gladdening, and we are very happy to see that kind of growth in Orissa. On the other hand, there are states where they have 30% of millets growing in their states, but the state government is not able to take it up. So it all depends upon various factors, the political factors, the geographic factors, the will of the people, the commitment of the people, many things. We all are being served millets, but the taste we have developed right from our childhood, we just go and pick up the taste which we are used to. But if we have to accept the millets, we need to change our taste. And that has to come willingly from within ourselves, and it has to be spread across. Then availability of the foods and market. There are many startups, many technologies are available. We have at NutriHub. Also, the nutritional superiority of these millets, people have to understand that one millet will not have all the important nutrients. Each millet has its own superiority. Like pearl millet, it is rich in iron and zinc, and it will attend to the anemic population. And in India, we have more children and women who are anemic. Finger millet, it is good in calcium. So it is the answer to those people who are suffering with arthritis or calcium deficiency and many other things. Apart from all these things, the single USP for millets for market and exports is they are gluten-free. And many people in the West, they are suffering from celiac disease or gluten intolerance. And by default, these millets are grown in natural conditions. By default, they are organic. So there is a big, big demand for these gluten-free foods and organically grown foods. As also, we know that these millets are having low glycemic index. People again prefer these. And just to wind up, these millets are not only good for humans, they're also good for the planet, they're also good for the farmer. And moreover, here in this house, when we are talking about the business, I would say that they're also good for business because they're having a lot of export potential in different market segments across Europe, across Americas, across other parts of the world, there are projections where it is expected that the annual compound growth rate, it is something beyond 6%. So if someone is interested, yes, it is a profitable venture, not only from the agriculture perspective, from your business perspective as well, but you need to be cautious and understand the loopholes where you see some startups which are bleeding also. We don't say that all startups are successful, but there are certain bleeding startups, but it is part of business. And as you understand, not every individual would be successful, not every startup would be successful, but those people who understand the depth and loophole.
but still, we were able to achieve and develop all those high-yielding varieties. But today, all those high-yielding varieties are quite susceptible when we talk of climate change-related issues, for example, high temperature, or you talk of greenhouse gas emissions. It's quite rampant, particularly from, kind of crops we grow, particularly paddy. Fertilizers we apply a lot, which is also contributing to climate change. Even livestock is also contributing to climate change. But I must also just bring home a message here right in the beginning. We have an excellent panelist here, no doubt about it, but still I thought I should like to inform you all. We are addressing both adaptation and mitigation to climate change, but then compared to many other countries in the world, we are actually speaking low emitters of greenhouse gases. This is something we must try to understand it. While we would be taking care of our own way, the mitigation adaptation, we're working on it. The Government of India is spending about 15% of its agriculture budget on climate related activities, but at the same time, for the benefit of our smallholder farmers, the medium-hold farmers, it's important that they are, if grow practices which will reduce less of your greenhouse, or less of greenhouse gas emissions will be there. Management of water, through various schemes and, methodologies, we can try to do that. Can we increase the carbon content? We have a carbon credit scheme, etc., coming up in India in a big way now with the startups. So all these technologies are no doubt very important. But at the same time, and these are mostly going towards, working towards mitigation part of it. But when we talk of adaptation of agriculture to climate change, what is important is the seed, the crop which we grow. And that has to be withstanding all those high temperature you talk about it, or drought tolerance you talk about it, unpredictability of weather, the rain, variability we have in climate change, there's change in flowering pattern, etc., etc. So we need to also work on developing as a whole, Indian Institute of Agricultural Research or many other organizations in the country are working on developing these new seeds through various means. We continue doing that through conventional plant breeding, but also we need to do it through using biotechnological tools. I don't see any biotechnologists here in the panel, but I may like to give you my own perspective, because that happens to be my area of own research, is that particularly we do continue working on developing high-yielding varieties through conventional breeding, but then we need to now change our perspective. We need to change the objectives for which we are breeding. We are breeding for high-yielding capacity, no doubt. We are breeding for disease resistance. We are breeding for many other traits, but we are not breeding for efficient utilization of natural resources. For example, particularly nitrogenous fertilizers. We are not breeding for the crops which will have less greenhouse gas emissions. So we have to breed also for crops which can tolerate multiple stresses together. Okay, and we have to breed for crops which will leave more carbon in the soil to increase the soil organic content, soil organic carbon content. And also we need to diversify the crops we grow in the farmer's field. Wheat, rice is a major wheat system when we talk of northern part of the world, or even otherwise. How many crops do we otherwise grow in our country? We were growing at one time 3,000 different species. Now today only 6 to 8 to 9 species, totally globally, actually giving you the full calorie requirement. So can we, in fact, the previous session was an excellent session, I enjoyed it, on millets. So can we, in fact, when we talk of even sustainability, use more of millets, because millets being climate resilient, also providing you those kind of nutrients which are important, and also producing more with less of resources. So millets so I'm talking about diversification of crops could be another strategy, by which we can try to even have adaptation to climate change and also making agriculture more sustainable. Can we make more use of pulses, for example? Pulses, because they have their own capacity of fixing nitrogen. So when we talk of increasing the organ content in the soil, it's also important to manage it with equal quantity of nitrogen fixed remaining in the soil, because it's not only carbon, it's the carbon, nitrogen, both, which are important. So therefore, there are very many options one can look forward to, but this is something very important that we must all be concerned about bringing sustainability into our agriculture production system, because we cannot afford to lose the production at the level we have already reached, but we need to further increase it, but in a sustainable manner. We have to also meet the sustainable developmental goals of United Nations by 2030. We need to continue increasing our production. And climate change, of course, is a big monster. I must tell you, it is already here. I was, in fact, fortunate to be part of the COP28, and I could see how important this particular topic has become globally. But India, fortunately, doing very well, I must tell you. Government of India is making its, kind of actions and efforts very much in this big way. And we at the National Academy of Agricultural Sciences have our own policy options, discussions going on. And we developed a kind of recommendations for the Indian perspective for COP28 as well, with a discussion here, at the National Academy of Agricultural Sciences. So friends, I will congratulate the group of Agriculture Today group, first of all, for completing these 25 successful years of service to the nation, if I may call it, and I wish all of them the best, but I'm very happy that they organized this kind of discussion during this part of celebrating their 25 years of existence, and I congratulate them. And with this, I will have a pleasure in, of course, introducing you to the panel, and the panelists, all 4 of them are here, and we have with us Madam Anuja Kadyan. She is Director of the Government Relations and Corporate Affairs Asia Pacific Office in Cortiva. We have Dr. K.C. Ravi. Sorry, Dr. K.C. Ravi? Yes, you are Dr. K.C. Ravi, Sustainability Head from Syngenta. We have Mr. Pradipta Sahu, Mr. Pradipta Sahu, the Business Head from Mother Dairy. And then we have Mr. Kaushal Bish, who is Head of the Strategic Partnership, WARA, who will be talking about carbon credits. So may I start with, first of all, with our friend who is from Cortiva, Madam Anuja. So what do you think? Cortiva is a big company, we know about it. Internationally, they are doing very well. And they are more into biotechnology and latest tools and sciences of even genome editing, I know about it. So according to you, what do you think, the Cortiva is able to contribute in helping Indian agriculture particularly, while Cortiva is international, particularly Indian agriculture? What do you think your organization is contributing towards adaptation to climate change or sustainability agriculture in India?
Certainly. Thank you so much for that question. And before we speak more about what Cortiva is doing, I would just like to highlight one point, and that is product sustainability is paramount to us. It is our mission, and it is a stated mission, rather, that by 2025, every new product that Cortiva develop will meet or surpass our new sustainable innovation criteria. So what that means is that it is a huge conscious decision that if something is not beneficial to the environmental profiles, we will not go ahead with those kind of products. So as a result, the products that come out in the market are like Rinskor, which is a rice herbicide. Its usage is 150 times less than a conventional molecules. That is 0.67%. Similarly, for our Reclamel, another product where the usage is 2% of a conventional molecule, and the resulting carbon dioxide or the GHG emission is also considerably reduced. Then we next look at the technologies in the biological space. So we have products which are nitrogen optimizers, so as to reduce the use of nitrogen fertilizer. We have products which help with the abiotic stress. And then in the seed technology, we have multiple product lines covering hybrid, GE, GM, seed applied technologies, so that the crops can be climate resilient, less water consumption, and a lot of different benefits in terms of the cropping patterns, etc. This is more from the technology side, but technology is just one aspect of it. To ensure that the sector stays resilient, we have to also promote these technology. What that means is that we will have, for example, this was the international layer of millet. And when we looked at the millet, and we are one of the very prominent players in the millet, particularly Bajra, pearl millet, we work with close to 3 million farmers for that. So we set up a task force which covered the entire value chain for millet. So it started from input to the buyer, to the food processor, to farmers were of course the intrinsic part of it, to nutritionists, the end consumer, and everyone in that chain. And we made sure that the systemic issues around acceptability and the adoption of millet is being taken care of. And this case study was actually highlighted at the India Pavilion at COP28, which also gives us a lot of hope that when we work with the Indian government as a MNC, we are not being discriminated. They are looking at what is the best for the Indian agriculture, and that the rule of the game stays same. That's one. Similarly, we work with the mustard farmers, and doubling the farmer income is something that we all talk about. We have seen in Haryana, in one of our case study, that we, using our mustard hybrids, farmers were actually able to double their income because of the oil content around it. Now, that's just one part of it. We have product that has a very good oil content, but how to make sure that the buyer also understand it. So we work with the startups as part of the oil testing machines, etc. And we create that awareness within the farmer community that this is a better quality output, so you should get better money out of it. And once they start realizing that thing, the chain becomes that much self-sustaining. Now, this is more from the technology piece and from the what we are doing at the ground level. What is also very important is how do we promote adoption of these technologies. I will divide it into 4 categories. One is around the grassroots work that we do. So we work with close to 30,000 farmers, and out of this, 12,000 farmers are women farmers. We work with the women FPOs, we work with the Pravakta program, we work on creating the soil testing labs, etc., so that the change and awareness can happen at the grassroots level. The next one is around the collaborations for the behavior change. We work with the World Bank Group as part of the DSR product portfolio, where we are working with the rice farmers in Uttar Pradesh to shift them from a normal rice cultivation to DSR. We have seen, and and all the examples or the percentage savings that we talk about are the documented cases. We have seen that there is a 30% reduction in water consumption as part of it. Then the next one is around the collaboration in terms of creating ag equity. So we work with the like of the CEMET, IRI, Gates Foundation, and all these kind of academic institutions, philanthropies, etc., where we work on creating the solutions that are required in various parts of the world. We also offer our CRISPR-Cas9 R&D licenses to the various academic institutions. We have already given it to 2 institutions in India. Now, the last part is around creating more acknowledgement, or more like promoting what the good work is already happening. So globally, we have a climate smart agriculture program. And as part of this program, we select close to 15 farmers across the world. These are the farmers which are the torchbearer of the sustainable agriculture practices across the world, because seeing is believing. If I just go and say that follow these practices, it might not have that kind of multiplier effect if they see that what the other farmers are doing. And I'm really, really pleased to share that in 23, we launched the program in India, and we have already seen success. We have selected one farmer from Tamil Nadu who has been using all these kind of sustainable agriculture practices, and he's now part of this global cohort.
Okay, thank you very much. I think you have enumerated very well all those activities. But at the same time, I'm just wondering, since you gave little emphasis also, which is good, on smallholder farmers, and particularly wondering about doubling their income, and you mentioned through mustard hybrids. Mustard hybrids, I'm sure, must be through conventional technology, not to do with CRISPR or kind of genome editing, which we are talking about it. And also you mentioned about rice, DSR, which is important, and which is again, out of conventional breeding technologies. But I just wonder at times, like Corteva is very much into, some of those genome editing tools as well. Particularly, I'm not clear about the crop you're talking about it, which are utilizing less nitrogen. That is something very important with regard to climate change, and also with regard to sustainability of the farmers themselves, because they don't have to produce too much, spend too much on the input cost. So what do you think with regard to the yield potential of all these crops, other than mustard hybrid? When you talk of DSR, will it match, the kind of rice which we normally grow, and will help the farmers apart from the, helping the environment? Because we need to take care of both, and also with regard to low application of nitrogen, it will certainly have an impact on reducing the yield, which is physiologically, we all know about it. So how you are going to ensure yield enough to the farmers with less input, particularly the smallholder farmers of our country, through all this technology what Syngenta or your Corteva is talking about?
Absolutely. So as I said, that we are only looking at the products, and we are developing the products where there is a benefit on the environmental footprint. And for the seeds particularly, it's around the yield potential in terms of the cropping pattern so that the peaking time is less and we can have multiple crops using the same land and all. And that is one of our stated ideology. All our crops in India are following that pattern and we are seeing some really good results, particularly from the yield management perspective.
Okay, thank you. I think we move on, and the next panelist is Dr. K.C. Ravi, who is from Syngenta, Sustainability Head. And Dr. Ravi, I would like to know particularly your perspective, with regard to both sustainability in agriculture and climate change, and role Syngenta is playing again with a focused view on smallholder farmers.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. First of all, I would use the words that were used for climate change was mitigation and adaptability. So like we were all assembled here yesterday, the room was freezing. And today we have kind of adapted as well as mitigated it by switching off the AC, aircon. So I guess this is a good example of how each one of us is looking at climate smart agriculture or climate change, and as we all understood, COP28 actually put the agriculture production system. So, Chairman sir, you rightly pointed out smallholder. So 82% of Indian agriculture is by smallholders, and we need to kind of handhold them. So first of all, I would say that it's climate smart, or whatever you may call it, it's basically back to the basics. Like, what do we need to do? How do we dig the earth? How do we tend to the soil? And if we forget both, I think, like Mahatma Gandhi said, that we are forgetting ourselves. So what we do is, first of all, work with the smallholder communities and help them to use the right inputs at the right time in the right manner. So it's all about how we get these inputs. As we all heard yesterday also, there was this green revolution, then how it did not transform into an evergreen revolution was because we overused the inputs, and then that had its immediate effect of increasing the production that time, but later on it led to a lot of unwanted effects. So we first ensure that our products are safe by design. I mean, what do I mean by that? From earlier times, you know, sir, that from kgs per hectare, now the dosage rates have come down to, I'm talking about crop protection products or any other. So they have come down to as low as 4 grams per hectare today. So each one of us have a responsibility to bring in the safest products. We, as my colleague Anuja also pointed out, we also already take care of the environmental profile of all our products which are coming out, which are being used by the millions of smallholders. And on top of it, we also use technology. You also mentioned on how we need technology. I mean, we need early warning systems. We need, the IT to be extensively used. With AI, the possibilities are immense today. And we've just seen the cusp of an AI revolution in the form of the drones, which are being deployed in a major way. And as we all know, drones effectively not only reduce the time for the farming communities, but also lead to optimal utilization of inputs as well as reduction of water. So that is one simple example of where we are. And then digitization itself, all the apps that we are introducing, which enables the farmers to actually get to before itself early warning so that they can avoid. And we all know what every year we are faced with more and more complex pests which are only increasing. So we had the locusts, we had FAW, we had black thrips. So we have a lot of pests that are newer and newer pests that are coming in. So we are using digitization in a major way so that our smallholder farmers are adequately equipped to deal with any kind of emergencies like this or any kind of outbreaks. And one of the panelists yesterday mentioned that God forbid anything happens like COVID to the agriculture sector. So that is precisely what we are doing, and trying to equip the farmers to take informed decisions and not just depend on the environment and on the weather, and also to see that they actually sow the right inputs, they also get the right advice and all the advisory throughout the year. And besides all this, we also undertake special projects like climate smart agriculture, in particularly rice in many parts of the country, where we ensure that we not only have a baseline of the CHG emissions and how with the correct protocols, and also minimize water by alternate drying and wetting systems, and also the right protocols at the right time that I described earlier. So I guess there are, on the whole, one specific set of projects we are particularly working on as far as soil health and climate smart agriculture is concerned, and also looking at some special projects like the Operation Pollinator, where we get the pollinators. We all know how important it is to increase productivity, so we also see that how we can handhold the farmers to actually make the habitats coexist with the production system. So like you had alluded to, sir, that on the one hand, we need to mitigate the CHG emissions and also the water consumption and all of that, but on the other hand, we have the task of feeding the ever-increasing population. So I think on the whole, I think these are some of the measures that Syngenta undertakes with the smallholder farmers, and especially we look at soil health in a more and how to kind of encourage regenerative agriculture, crop cover, crop rotation, and the kind. So we do give advice to the farming communities throughout the year. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, but maybe I would request for your very quick response that in terms of reaching to the unreached, to the very small farmers, do you also interact, though it may not be a necessity for you, but do you foresee that interacting with some of the government agencies, who have a direct reach to these smallholder farmers, be it from Indian Council of Agricultural Research, like we have demonstrations by KVKs, also we have got from the Ministry of Agriculture, Farmer Welfare, some of the bodies and agencies who are concerned and reaching out to the smallholder farmers. So as a Syngenta, as a company, you think there's an advantage, or you're doing all alone by yourself? I know you have your own capacity, but nevertheless, do you in fact have a kind of a thinking that process in mind as well?
Very good question, sir. And we try as much as possible to kind of complement the government in whatever we are doing. So we don't want to do everything on our own. We know that we need collaborations. We know that we need more partners. So wherever we are open to kind of collaborate and see how we can kind of synergize with the government and take on. You told about extension. You told about how we can handhold the farming community. So we try and do as much as possible. So in fact, I would just like to pinpoint that when drones came in for the first time, we took a drone yatra where we especially emphasized on participation from not only the farming communities, but all the stakeholders, including the government, to come and look at the demonstrations, and thereafter how we can take it forward. So we are constantly in touch with the state governments as well. So.
Wonderful. That's another part of your social responsibility from these corporates. Well, thank you very much. And we move on to the next panelist, who is Dr. Pradipta Sahu, who is the business head I mentioned before from Mother Dairy. Dr. Pradipta, of course, you are concerned, I know, about your organization, about sustainability in agriculture or climate change. and we also know that particularly climate change has an adverse impact, not only in quantity but also quality of the food produced, etc., whether through the crops or through livestock sector. So according to you, what do you think your organization is contributing towards either mitigating or adaptation of these kind of adverse effect? We're talking about it, of climate change to various products your mother dairy is engaged with. So what's your response?
Thank you, sir. First, thanks to Agriculture Today for inviting me and giving me this opportunity. Am I audible? Okay. Okay. So our response, I think I have been hearing, if I can sum up the key buzzwords that are coming out from all the discussions that we have had yesterday, today: climate change, climate calamity, climate crisis, all C, and you said climate crop. And the behavior that is coming out so far as mitigation, adaptations are concerned: responsible, resilient, all are, reuse, recycle, responsive. So we are vacillating between C, these are the climate impacts, adverse, detrimental impacts that the climate change that is putting onto us, and the behavioral aspects which we need to deliver is more of resilience, more of responsibility, more of recycle, reduce, and all that stuff. Having said that, our company now will come to, because all global COP28 and everybody, almost you all have been sensitized about the impact. I'll get into the very focused issues of horticulture space, because you have had two panelists coming from same industry, input industry, and Sar being from technical background. The great realization what Dr. Bansal has said when he started off with his keynote address was, he will be more responsible. This is quote unquote what he said. I'm just quoting. He will be more responsible breeder going forward. This realization has come looking to the very impact of climate change. So if a breeder, a scientist of his repute, he's saying he will see the climate change impact and optimize the resources and the technology, be it BT or whatever, biotechnology or GT or whatever that will come out, it has to be climate smart. So we as a company, or for that matter, we as user, because nobody understands climate change adverse impact. Every day we live in Delhi in the gas chamber. That is from an air perspective. But from food perspective, I'll throw some light, because I am into food. How does it impact our value chain, our supply chain? Apart from the production side, which two esteemed co-panelists have said, the cost of climate change, if I see, it brings only one thing that I can see. Another C is the complexity. Because any business processes or any value chain process, they will be comfortable if the business things are not complex, linear. So climate change brings in one more C to the business decision-making system, is the complexity. And now globally people say VUCA. VUCA is more of volatility, more of uncertainty, more of complexity, and more of ambiguity into the whole decision-making system. And climate change does add to the VUCA system that exists in the business processes. And more so, the business that I am heading, horticulture business, it adds more perishability into it. So it has got cost. Concept was nothing but a sustainable, responsible behavior, not to use plastics. Get milk from your close catchment. Don't go far away, drive away for a milk. So it is right in your locality and your neighborhood. Get the milk through your container, so that is sustainable behavior. And in agriculture production system, our sustainability starts with crop planning. The key word is the crop planning. We know what is our demand and how demand will move depending upon different occasions, different markets and all. So therefore, crop is planned both for short-term, medium-term, long-term crop, and storage is planned looking to the optimization of resources. I'll give you a classic example. Suppose we develop supply chain and we break supply chain. Suppose if we want to get bhindi for supplying to you, we develop supply chain at Hapur in the summer so that you can get zero bhindi, which North India people like, unlike the South people who likes different kind of bhindi. So that we develop. But come winter, we break that supply chain. Because it's a climate resilient, we go to Surat. When bhindi can be grown in the winter, here in the freezing temperature, you cannot grow bhindi. So we go to Surat and develop supply chain there in terms of organizing farmers, looking to their soil structure, where how the farm holding, how big we require. Then we give them what all crops, pesticides, even tying up with these two companies as to which seeds, what's the pesticide usage, how much pesticide residues should be there, because we are FSSI compliant supplier. So therefore, we make supply chain, we break supply chain. Now what has happened, because of climate change, the predictability has gone. You never know when rains will come. And last summer you could see the wettest summer, because the rains every time, every time it used to rain. So every plan that, or forecast for that matter, that we used to do went for a toss. Be it sales of ice cream, be it sales of vegetables and all that stuff. So one has to be really climate resilient. It starts with our crop planning and reducing carbonization in our ecosystem. I'll tell you there are three things which as a country and company we have not been able to do. The one fact is, which we are grappling with the supply chain of top items. Because I am a horticulturist, so I can tell you, sir. Tomato, we know tomato, very recently, 3 months, 4 months before, tomato price was hovering around 20 bucks and went through the roof, skyrocketed to 200 rupees within a span of 15-20 days. I'm just giving you an example. Same is the case with onion. Onion was with 20-30 rupees for different regions. I'll come down to the granular regions, why it's vacillating that differently. Same is the potato. So these are the three things if we can crack from a consumption point of view, from a health environment point of view, from a economic climate point of view. It has got lots of bearings on inflations. So therefore, what is that we are doing? Tomato, when and from a consumer point of view, I can give you one, because how we can be responsible as a consumer. 20 years before, 25 years before, we used to eat only tomato when winter comes in. That was the most climate resilient. We used to, today I am telling you, our skewed preference for the stuff which are not grown in the season, and we are off season, and more so in Delhiites. Today people will look for bhindi jal fry or bhindi fries. Where bhindi will come from? Bhindi will not come from Sonipat or Hapur. It will come all the way from Surat. So how it will come? You know what greenhouse impact and carbonization will happen. Therefore, in promoting production is one aspect, promoting behavior, consumption pattern, very responsible, which are climate resilient, is more important. Because we are talking of, now we moved for ultra processed and processed stuff. So my question is, suppose tomato is at Kolar ₹2. That goes for waste and it creates crisis. Then government comes into picture, then the entire political climate gets really rattled. So now the process is, you do the tomato processing that's happening in Kolar, do it somewhere else where the comparative advantage of tomato growing is very high. And that tomato basic product, I'm not saying you do ultra process, do tomato puree and sell it across the country. So that has to happen when the consumers will tend to accepting this processed product. Similarly for onion, we have got a plant in Ranchi. We are doing tomato processing. Ranchi tomato was not getting processed. Second is onion flakes. Now onion price is 60 rupees. When onion price goes to the rock bottom and it's available at 3 rupees, 4 rupees, goes for onion flakes. And you can use, of course, except salad and other stuff, and sambar, you can use onion flakes. Same is the potato flakes. You can have your aloo thing and that. So all I am saying, processing and doing it at the right time and making a consumption behavioral change. We used to change farmers' behavior, we buy tea and we go and do this production. Now time has come to promote responsible consumption pattern, therefore aligning the entire production system, which is climate smart, will do a good job, and that will be the justice to the climate. Thank you very much.
Excellent. I think that's a very right message you're giving across, that not only we, the producers, from any sector, public or private, I think consumers' response and acceptability is also very important, which is leading towards more sustainable development and climate resilience. And you said it very rightly. Anyway, I'll come back to you. I have some questions, maybe small, one or two. But meanwhile, I think we move on, and our next panelist is your Mr. or Dr. Mr. Kaushal Bist. Mr. Kaushal Bist looks to be, having kind of a new startup, I believe. It's on carbon credit. And carbon credit is something which is being talked about it quite heavily these days, even globally, particularly in India, so more. And it's a new concept. So according to you, while it will help the environment, to me it appears for sure, but you think it's going to help as much the farmers and more than your own company?
Thank you, sir. First of all, thank you very much to the Agriculture Today group for having me here today and giving me this opportunity to talk about Varaha's work. Varaha is an end-to-end carbon project developer, basically a science and tech-based project developer who works in carbon credit projects through regenerative agriculture, agroforestry, biochar production, enhanced rock weathering, and livestock antique fermentation mitigations. So as far as carbon credits, we make sure the majority income which we make from these carbon credits is passed on to the smallholder farmers of India. And we envision a future wherein these farmers, the carbon credit income which they generate, it will become around 20% of their overall income, which will not only incentivize them financially, but also create this positive reinforcement loop to do these practices again and again at their farms, which will give them a permanent behavior change, right? We talk about DSR, alternate wetting and drying, and all of these practices which have a substantial potential to reduce these the emissions from farms. But the thing is, this will only become effective when the farmers will make money out of it, right? And unless we make sure that they make money from adopting these practices, they will not adopt it, right? So I would just like to highlight the kind of problem we have right now. Every year we are emitting out 45 gigatons of carbon dioxide equivalent into atmosphere. And even after all of these talks about climate change and all of these talks about resilience and all this, we are still increasing, we are not decreasing. We are talking about a net zero future in 2050, but the additional increment of CO2 equivalent going into atmosphere is still increasing and it is at 45 gigatons. It is 4,500 crore tons to be very specific. Now we kind of, as a startup, we are working with farmers in India, and as you might all be aware that agriculture today, with livestock and all other allied sectors, contributes around 25% of the total problem in the world. It emits methane, nitrous oxide emissions and all in total, right? So what we do is, in regenerative agriculture space, we work with farmers to promote some regenerative agriculture practices like direct seeded rice, alternate wetting and drying, crop residue incorporation instead of budding agriculture, right? Residues, or practices like drip irrigation, drip-based fertigation, moving away from flood irrigation to efficient irrigation forms, saving water, and then some practices like crop diversification, crop rotation, which can also build in this organic carbon pool, which overall creates this financial loop for farmers, which we help them quantify through our models. So basically, when we did these experiments around 2 years back with IIT Kharagpur, MHU, and IRI, we realized that not only agriculture has a potential to become net zero, but it can become a net sink for other sectors as well. Basically, we can create these carbon pools in agriculture, which we can sell to other sectors who can readily pay for these emission mitigation efforts, right? So in regenerative agriculture, we started with around 500,000 acres project in Punjab, Haryana, UP, Uttarakhand, wherein we promoted DSR heavily, alternate wetting and drying. And this project became the world's first smallholder project to complete its audit cycle last month. We are issuing around 700,000 credits, and the credits will be issued in the next 3 months, which will then be monetized for farmers. The credit points, the pricing which we are getting for these credits because of the co-benefits involved, right? The soil organic carbon pool increasing, the poverty elevation, the cost of input for farmers also going down because of these practices. These credits are trading at $25 plus price points. Right? The second effort which we have undertaken is agroforestry, wherein basically we are planting trees across the bund of the farms of farmers. And we have around 100,000 acres across India, Nepal, Bangladesh, Kenya, and other sub-Saharan African countries together. And we are creating credits from these as well, the price points which we see here around $10 to $15, which overall creates these financial tools for farmers to continue getting annual benefits so that they do not harvest these trees in 10, 12, 15 years usually, right? And can elongate the harvesting to 20, 25 good years, and then the permanence in form of hardwood timber can also increase. This atmospheric carbon can also be taken away from atmosphere. Now, the third and very interesting intervention which we are doing is on biochar production. See, I told you the total problem is around 45 gigaton every year, but there is a solution which Earth already have, which is absorption of CO2 equivalents from atmosphere through biomass generation. Right? So Earth accumulates around 150 gigatons of biomass every year. So the problem is 149 gigaton of this biomass goes back into atmosphere after decaying, burning, or all other these things. That means we are only able to hold 1 gigaton of CO2 equivalent going back to atmosphere. If somehow we can make sure that 1/3 of this biomass cannot go to atmosphere, we are there net zero today itself, right? And one of the practices which can help that out is biochar production. It is basically burning of crop residue or any biomass, substantial and basically, sustainable biomass in absence of oxygen through a process called pyrolysis. If you do that, it converts into a char-like substance called biochar, which is basically a 1,000-year stable carbon. You then can compost that and then put that back to soil. Tools overall for the farmers, and the farmers also make money in the process. So I'll take a pause here, sir. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Kaushal. But one question I have with you, actually, you know what, you talked about DSR is very important in the case of rice. We'll take 10 more minutes and then we'll close it. So I think it's a good point you made, and you are helping farmers, and farmers are happy about it to plow back the kind of carbon you're talking about, it is carbon credit, and in the process the income of farmers probably will increase, I'm sure. But then, you know, we breed varieties, you know, for specific targeted conditions. And rice has not been as much, you know, recommended. Of course, it's recommended for DSR, you know, direct-seeded rice, but not, you know, we have been producing specifically varieties. So you think, in terms of, you know, sequestration of carbon back into the soil, do you advise farmers some specific set of variety they should grow? Or these are the varieties which they otherwise have been growing, and do you have any kind of an idea or process of thinking towards that direction?
Yes, sir. So, a very relevant question, right? I'll start with DSR only. So, what we have realized, DSR in all logical sense should not decline yields, right? If you do it correctly, if you can manage that. But the reality of matter is that weeds will make a problem. And then DSR becomes kind of difficult for farmers to manage, and there is slight decline which our farmers have reported in some of the cases. But we are very aware that there are technologies available to handle those as well. So for example, one particular variety, which is herbicide tolerant variety of rice, which will make sure DSR adoption kicks up very well, right? One of the company, Savannah, we are in discussions with them to finalize one particular carbon project on that. We believe that if that particular variety comes, the DSR adoption, the farmers holding on to that particular adoption will, become much more evident. Right now, there are cases wherein farmers do this for 2-3 years, but then after one particular year of losses, they move back to transplanted rice, and then all the efforts which we have put in the earlier past years to hold that carbon into soil, and you again flood it. And the anaerobic methane will again come back and then destroy that carbon pool. The second similar example I have with, is the phosphorus tolerant rice variety, which IIRR is kind of trying to push into the markets now. So basically, if let's say one particular variety, now the DAP requirement will go down, right? And whatever requirements go down, and the substantial release of nitrous oxide because of that particular variety can also be claimed. Because of this is an absolute reduction which happens there, right? Or any drip-based fertigation, for example, any intervention like if you move from direct fertigation of nitrogen application, we know the nitrogen use efficiency is around 20-30% only, right? 70-75% nitrogen comes back into atmosphere in one way or the other. So if we can somehow reduce that by increasing the nitrogen use efficiency or the capability of particular varieties to absorb better like nitrogen from farms, So all of these can also be included into a carbon project, which overall, I mean, even if these technologies are costlier upfront, the carbon income will make for it, right, overall.
Thank you. I think I'll just quickly go around for very briefly, 1 or 2 minutes, each one of you. Maybe I will ask you to conclude, or maybe I will ask a specific question. Maybe I would request Anuja to a little bit throw light on, since Corteva is known for, their excellent role they're playing in, genome editing now, or advanced technologies particularly, and I know with our experience in India, the GM crops were costlier, when we talk of a seed, availability to the farmers, because there's a technology cost to it. That was because they were subjected to heavy regulation, from biosafety point of view. But you think Corteva's point of view, the cost of the seed for the farmers, particularly the ones which will be having all those adaptive traits of climate change, we're talking about it, and minimal regulation to these genome edited, crops, there's an exemption now, totally. I'm sure you're aware of it. So you think, are you worried about the kind of reducing the cost, for the farmers' availability of those improved seeds over GM crops? Idea is ultimately to give benefit to the farmers of these genome editing crops, to increase their income by reducing the input cost of the seed.
Absolutely, Kailash, a very, very important question. But I will, change a little bit context around it, because when we talk about it, we cannot just consider the cost only from one input perspective. What we really need right now is to look at food security in terms of national security, which is not happening in some way. And I have worked across aerospace and defense, healthcare, telecom, and all these sectors have been part of the national security dialogue, where we are making sure that the country is self-sufficient or self-reliant, and then we look at the net cost in terms of that entire product life cycle. So even when we talk about a GM or we talk about a GE, we have to look at it from that perspective. So what do we get as part of that? Abhi we were seeing in a little bit, few months back, where, for example, a lot of export value comes from basmati export in India, and we have been seeing that those exports are being rejected because of various reasons and all, and without going into it. As a policy maker discussion, we'll have to make sure that the government identifies whether we want those export dollars or we don't want those export dollars. Because money for the farmers and for that entire value chain players will always come through to us. We cannot break it into modularization. We just have to look at it from that entire product life cycle thing.
Thank you very much. Maybe I would request Dr. K.C. Ravi for about 30 to 60 seconds to have your concluding message on what you want to convey with regard to your role, your company's role towards this particular topic we're talking about.
I would just like to conclude that this topic of climate change and agriculture sustainability is a very vast topic, and there is no single silver bullet that would address the problem. So I guess it's like where I began, it's back to the basics, how to make, there was a Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. So I would say there is a need for a Swachh Agriculture Abhiyan. I mean, how to make agriculture clean. And in that, of course, we have different elements of starting from the soil to using different technologies, to use scale neutral technologies. And the most important is what you refer to, sir, is the public-private partnership. So in my opinion, I think we are all open. And we, in fact, as Syngenta have tried several times, several years ago, to have an exchange of our scientists from the government as well as from our side to go and understand each other and kind of map what is required for that. And we would welcome such collaboration, sir. And I think these are the essential things, and there is no one answer to this mammoth problem that we would all be facing, and it's all question of how we adapt to it and mitigate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would come back to Dr. Pradipta Sahu. You know, in the inaugural session, we heard from the chief guest that we are moving towards now kind of products which will require more, cold chain, strengthening. That means freezing. kind of requirement, refrigerating, etc., which will, I think, contribute to the climate change problems. So I think we need to strike a balance somewhere. You are a horticultural expert, and you rightly mentioned about processing these, particularly tomato. You gave a very good example, and I support your viewpoint with regard to availability of nutrients from tomato to the human beings is significantly high. Particularly lycopene, which gives red color to tomato, which is a very dietary antioxidant. It's not as much available when you eat it fresh, tomato as salad. It's rather more available to your system, to your body, when it is used as a sauce or as a puree or, in that particular form, because that lycopene, is more bioavailable to your system. So you think it will add more, we move towards, that kind of increasing processing or food processing, or are we going to strike a balance somewhere, to see that the situation is under control? What do you point? Just in 1 second, 1 minute.
Thanks for complex question. So this requires really one more collaboration, and collaboration among customers, consumers, and companies. So collaboration, because and the response should be very balancing and trade-off. For anything that we do, trade-off is the right approach. Rightly you said, I'll give a small example of 30 seconds. Green peas, when it comes to 3 rupees, 4 rupees, we process green peas. And when the season, it reaches 100 rupees, 200 rupees, that green pea, because people are crazy for green peas, for paneer, butter paneer, and rice pulao and all that. So you get green peas, when it's at 3 rupees, you get all the nutrients that are available in the seasonal crop, and that is given to you, because it will also require cold storage, freezing, cold storage and all, but we'll have to do a balancing. Suppose if a consumer asks and demand for getting it at, say, Calicut, green peas from north, at least what will be the transportation cost from these to that of a crop, vis-a-vis the processed product, and how much is the carbon balance it. And hopefully, I believe if it will reduce the wastage. One is it's reducing the wastage, and it is making product available to the consumers, and company is getting benefit. So collaboration and co-creation among consumers, customers, and company, that will help reduce the climate risk.
Okay, thank you very much, friends. I think I would just take a minute to conclude. While, of course, I thank all the panelists, distinguished panelists, for their excellent remarks. And I would just like to reaffirm that we are into the process or the problem facing, is of climate change. Certainly we are into it. We are very much aware now, as much never before, that we are now on about sustainability in agriculture as well. We are all concerned in India, mostly so, for our smallholder farmers. And also we are concerned about increasing the quality of the produce, not only the quantity. That's also very important, be it field crops or we talk of horticultural crops. And I must also try to give a message to those, I don't know, many scientists are not here, but it's not only kind of one subject specialist, should worry about it. I think we have to look into totality, not only the crop scientists, also the microbes, also the soils, the agronomist, plant pathologists. All disciplines of science are very important. And I think a very right message given again, which I understood today more clearly, is that it's not only the scientists, the producers, the organizers, consumers also play a significant role, really speaking, to combat all these problems we're talking about today with regard to climate change. And to me it appears India as a whole is doing very well, comparatively speaking, with regard to mitigating the adverse effects of climate change or with regard to adaptation. More research is going into it, I can tell you, either in public sector or mostly so in public sector, because we are more into research. And when we talk of the involvement of scientists, it is earlier like science and technology, but now we are more into innovations as well. How can we address these, issues, in a smart way? We talk of smart agriculture. But only thing is that we have to also, while taking care of all these factors, must not ever forget to keep increasing our productivity levels, which is very, very important. And I, on a forum like this, would re-emphasize the public and private partnership even more. Because if you ask me, we are in a competitive world. And in the competitive world, I see India as one entity where all we have to contribute for the welfare of our own country, the nation. and we must be coming out leaders, particularly in the sector of agriculture. Not only we being self-sufficient ourselves, even we export, and we become a big global economy, even from the food front, actually speaking, that's very important. So in this direction, I think agriculture today, or the ICFA, playing a very important role, bringing all public-private people partners together, and I'm very happy that you were all there present in this particular session, though it's quite late. Nevertheless, I congratulate once again the organizers, particularly Dr. M.J. Khan, for creating this kind of a big scenario, bringing all people, those who matter, from Indian agricultural perspective, including highest levels from the ministers down to us as consumers. So I thank you very much and congratulate you once again for this opportunity.
Thank you very much indeed. Pradipta Sahu, Business Head, Safal and International Business, Mother Dairy Fruit and Vegetables Private Limited. Thank you, sir. And to Mr. Kaushal Bisht, Head Strategic Partnerships, Varaha. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we now take a break for lunch. The next session will begin at 2:30. I request everyone to kindly be seated back in time and requesting a panelist for the group photograph. Vinita, if you would kindly join the panelists for the group photograph. Thank you. So ladies and gentlemen, lunch is served outside. Kindly be back and seated by 2:30 for the next session. Thank you.